Rockets. Welcome into episode 36. Shout out Marcus Smart of Two Man Game with Damon and Dom. I'm Damon, that's Dom, and you are the listener. Before we get into it today, please like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, leave 5 stars, pre-download the episodes, and of course, as always, on both platforms, share with everybody, your friends, your enemies, even complete strangers. Hey, you like basketball? Here's a podcast. You don't like basketball? Here's a podcast that'll make you like basketball. It's a win-win situation. We are here on Wednesday evening, May 8th, moments after the Knicks Pacers game 2, and we have a lot to talk about. But before we get into any of that, Dom, how are you?
Thank you for asking, Damon. Thank you so much for introducing the pod to everybody. Thank you all for listening. I'm doing great. Watching a lot of basketball that I'm enjoying. I have been working a lot on music and I've been having band practice and really excited. May is going to be a month that we're getting ready for new stuff coming out in June. So a lot of exciting stuff on that front. And yeah, just besides that, just enjoying being.
Hmm.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Watching a lot of basketball, of course. I actually am a basketball player myself now. I played 3 times last week on Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. So I'm playing, more minutes than a lot of these players in the playoffs.
I
Uh,
believe the term is hooper.
I'm a
You are now
hooper.
a hooper now.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
hooper for sure. We have, as people listening probably know, I'm a teacher. We have graduation tomorrow, so that will be fun. Um, and yeah, everything is going well, I think. Um, yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into our shirts for the day. What do you have for us? What are you donning for us on this Wednesday evening?
Reliving the glory days with my Los Angeles Lakers. I got a new shirt I thrifted for like $5 and it's very cool. It's like kind of 90s style and it's nice and relaxed and heavyweight. It's exactly the kind of thing I like. And since I can't watch Lakers basketball, might as well wear Lakers basketball. Am I right? But what is
Yeah.
this you got going on over here? I want you to explain.
Yeah, I think it was 20 episodes ago, exactly, episode 16, I wore this Space Jam shirt that I am currently donning under a Bigfoot onesie because it was our Halloween episode. So that was like my Halloween costume. Um, but this time I wore just the shirt and tacked on a Toon Squad headband that I was gifted a long time ago. And I just figured, this is going to be my accessory this episode. What other shirt would I wear than the Space Jam shirt? So I'm rocking all Space Jam attire. I actually have Space Jam shoes, I guess, but um,
Gotta
I
throw
don't.
those on. You lace them up and tie it around your neck like you just got off the
Ooh,
court.
I should
There you
have I
go.
should have put them in the back or something. I don't know, but
Next pod, next pod. There's gonna be
yeah.
something you could do. Just throw it in the back. But yeah, that's cool, man. Do
Thank you.
you ever wear it when you play?
Usually not because this is kind of like a really tight sweatband, like it's
Mhm.
like form fitting and squeezes
Yeah.
my skull. But I have like a red headband that I'll wear when I play. But I actually have a forehead tan line that I've had for like 4 weeks because I wore it when I was playing at the park for like 3 hours and my whole face got tan, and then my forehead that I wore the sweatband on is much lighter than the rest of my face, and it's still that way. So I
Yeah.
haven't been wearing it because I'm trying to let it even out, but it hasn't worked.
You have to do is you have to cover the rest of your face and
Right.
then let the other top of it tan while you're playing.
I need to wear like a
Um,
balaclava and cut off the top or something.
yeah, just like kind of around like
Yeah.
this. I think that'd be. I don't know if you saw. Um, I feel like at some point, I mean, in the off season, we can talk about like NBA player fashion. When they come to the
Yeah.
arenas, like what they wear. Have you
Yeah.
seen what Jalen Williams, J-Dub, wears to these games? Because
I have not.
he has been wearing some stuff like literally just like black all around, except like the top is kind of like a donut.
What
I'll
the
have to show you. I'll have to
heck?
show you a picture. You'll have to wear that next time you're on the court.
Let's see.
Um,
Look it up while you're talking here.
Okay. While he's looking up some really bad fashion sense that I think some of the young players are wearing, we got some NBA awards Some are these the last ones, right? There's no more.
These are the last ones aside from the all NBA teams, all defensive teams. Those aren't
Right.
awards per se. I see
Individual
this.
awards.
It looks like he's going into an igloo. This is interesting.
Yeah, that's the
Um,
one. Yeah, that's the
okay.
one. Again, he wasn't going in an igloo. He was going into a arena to play a
Yeah.
playoff game. Yeah,
Yeah.
just so you know. I wasn't sure if that
Thank
was
you.
obvious because he looked like he was going into an igloo. But yeah, no, okay. So these are the last individual awards of the year. That the last one announced was today, but we're going to start with Rookie of the Year, and Rookie of the Year went to, no surprise, Victor Wembanyama. Uh,
Wemby.
well deserved. He won it over Chet Holmgren, who was in second place, and then Brandon Miller, who was third place in voting.
Right.
Wemby is the first player in league history to reach 1,500 points,
Mm.
700 rebounds, 250 assists, 250 blocks, and 100 three-pointers in the same season.
This is one of those stats that I saw and I was like, wow, that's a lot of context to fill up that like first player to ever do this. We gotta keep adding stuff on here to I'm wondering it must have been blocks, right? Like I feel like a lot of maybe some point guards have reached although the rebounds are there too. I guess 700 rebounds is a lot.
I think
Um
it's the three-pointers and
100 threes. Yeah.
yeah, I think 100 threes is crazy for your first season.
Well, I think
Uh,
it's probably because a lot of centers typically get the rebounds and blocks, not the threes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's what I think is crazy. But congratulations to him. He is the also the third Spur to be named Rookie of the Year. The first being David Robinson and Tim Duncan.
I was gonna say, can I guess them? And that's who I would have guessed, but I guess that's
Yeah, I
pretty
know
obvious.
you would have gotten it right. Yeah, the Admiral and the not the Foundation Fundamentals.
Mr. Fundamental.
Yeah, that's what it was.
The big fundamental. That's what it is. It's the
Is
big
it okay?
fundamental.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Also, before we continue, I just want everyone's going to notice that I'm drinking out of a wine glass.
Mm.
This is because another podcast called Mind the Game with
A
JJ
lesser
Redick and LeBron
podcast.
James, lesser, much lesser than, but friends of the pod, of course. But they know
Definitely.
we're better. They have every episode they kind of bring like a bottle of wine to gift each other, and they kind of drink it during. So I thought today I would do that as well, just because it's a nice Wednesday and just sipping on some wine, talking to a friend,
I guess
talking to
LeBron
hoops.
has plenty of time to record right now.
Oh, burn. I know actually I didn't watch the newest episode, but they were talking about the playoffs. I really
I
want to
haven't
watch.
watched a single episode. I
Dude,
started
you'll
listening to
love it.
I started listening to the first episode, and they were describing like plays and stuff, and I was like, man, I really wish I was watching this. So then I
Yeah, you
stopped
gotta watch
listening,
it.
and I haven't watched it. I haven't got around to watching it because it does feel like something I need to watch.
It's definitely a watcher one, and yeah, but I know like I also wish I could throw it on like when I'm driving to work and driving
Right, right.
home. But yeah, you definitely kind of have to sit and watch it. But all that to say, I'm
Instead, I
drinking.
throw on Two Man Game with Damon and Dom. That one's pretty good.
I also sometimes do that just to see how good we are, you know?
And every time I'm pleasantly surprised.
I love when you text me and you're like, "Hey Dom, actually, we're not too bad at this podcast thing." I say, "I never had doubts." What are you talking? Wait, are you not sure?
I think it's really because I hate listening to myself. So I'm always like, I feel like every time I judge something I do, I judge it really harshly.
Yeah,
Um,
I got used to it. I hate hearing myself sing, but I have to. So
you're like,
it
here we
is
go
what it
again.
is. I think I actually just love listening to myself because I also started a podcast, so I guess I'm just lying to myself at a certain point. But who else loves themselves? I want you to tell me about this next award.
Yeah, aside from Rookie of the Year, which he won, Victor Wembanyama was also nominated for Defensive Player of the Year, and he finished second. The winner for this award was Rudy Gobert, winning his fourth Defensive Player of the Year over Wembanyama and also Bam Adebayo in first place. By the way, Domantas Sabonis had a third place vote for this.
I saw that. I was like,
Who, who,
it was one vote.
why don't I have that person's ballot? Hello? Come on, NBA. What are we
Those
doing?
are so funny to
We
me.
love Sabonis here, but third defensive player of the
He's
year? Come
He's not.
on.
Yeah, no. He's not even the best defensive player on the Kings,
He's
probably.
no, not
So
even
yeah, no,
close.
he's not. Yeah,
Yeah, so like I said, this is Gobert's fourth defensive player of the year. He is joining Dikembe Mutombo and Ben Wallace as the only other players to win four defensive player of the years. Those two, of course, legendary defenders, both in the Hall of Fame. I think Rudy Gobert is on the fast track there himself with 4 Defensive Player of the Years. I wouldn't imagine why. Of course, Timberwolves had number one defense. We're definitely gonna get into that and talk about that a little later. But yeah, any other additional comments or anything about this?
I just want to say this is the first season I've really watched Rudy Gobert all the way through. Because I got into watching basketball in modern
You said
NBA.
I'm not watching the Jazz.
Well, it was 2020 in 2020, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch the Lakers and I watched the Mavericks and like the Rockets, and then every season, yeah, I never really, the Jazz. To me, I'm indifferent. Like I really don't care
You saw
one way or
Jazz
the other.
Clippers and were like, I'm not watching that series.
Yeah, I no, yeah, no. I mean, I like some of the players on that team. Rudy Gobert, I like, but again, like I never watched them. I watched the playoffs, but not the whole season. Right? This is the first time I watched him. I watched Timberwolves games a lot because I like the Timberwolves, obviously, and I just want to say, well deserved and congratulations because I remember a long time ago, in the early 2000s, watching Ben Wallace, and he was a crazy, crazy defender. Also on the short side, which I thought was kind of
Yeah, he's like
interesting.
6'8", 6'9" for a center.
Yeah, but congrats to Rudy Gobert. We're going to talk about him a little bit more later. But
And the
to
person he's going against.
right, exactly. I was trying to segue, but I didn't want to like give it away right away. So we're talking about the MVP.
I gave it
All
away.
right, you gave it away. But some people don't know it yet. So we finally found out who the MVP is. The three that were nominated: Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and the award went to Nikola Jokic for his third MVP
Third in
in his
4 years.
career. Third in 4 years.
And he was second last year.
Yeah. So, um, congratulations. Very well deserved. It is, I think, a testament to the talent in the NBA that I'm angry that he got MVP. But only angry because I just like a lot of first year people, people getting first awards.
Right.
So I think after watching the game yesterday, I was like, if SGA gets it, I'll be happy. I kind of thought maybe, but I know the votes are already cast. Whatever. Nikola Jokic, congratulations. Third time MVP, joins elite company that includes LeBron James, and Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Wilt Chamberlain, and like five more. I'm not going to name I listed them. I'm not going to name them all. But what do you think? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this was, who I assumed was going to win MVP. I think I mentioned it previously in the pod. Neither of us had him as MVP, but I was like, yeah, he'll probably win it though. Because, he just kind of does what he does, and I guess, one of the players in the NBA that there's not really a big answer for, like even when we get into the series against the Wolves and they're down 0-2 right now. I mean, he still finished one of those games with like 32, 11, and like something out like, like he still had a game that was good. So, um, I think it's, the consistency that I appreciate most these last 4 years. He has just been dominating every year and leading the Nuggets every year to a decent record, a hopeful playoff run, one finals win, which was last year. And I feel like that narrative of the finals win last year probably carried over into this season for the MVP. And I think, there's probably just less question marks in his game than Luca and Shea.
Yeah.
Um, Luckily, though, Luca and Shea are both like 25 and under, so they still are on the up and up. They'll still have their chance. But yeah, it's what I expected to happen. I'm kind of with you on. Yes, it would have been nice for another person, new person to win, especially on these younger players. I think is interesting.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't have like super strong opinions on it.
It kind of makes me, at least what I want the silver lining to be is I want Luca and I want SGA to just ball out and just show us why they should have been. You know what I mean? Like I kind of want them to feel like, oh, play with a chip on their shoulder, like, oh, you don't think I'm the MVP? Let me show you why. You know?
Yeah,
I think
and
that,
bad time for this award to come out. We'll get
yeah,
into that, but
yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah. But congrats to Jokic. It's crazy. I think he's definitely is the most consistent, candidate that was nominated. So congrats to him. And we'll see how they do in the playoffs. But
Yeah,
We're going to talk
from
about that a little bit later.
one MVP on the court to an MVP on the bench. Thanasis Antetokounmpo tore his Achilles somehow. I don't know when that occurred, and is going to be undergoing surgery this offseason. That news came out today. One of the best hype men in the league who's is on an NBA team because his brother is on that team and really good.
Yep.
So, unfortunate, it's going to be hard to jump and shout and go fight players if you're have a torn Achilles. So hopefully he's good by next season so he can, continue to fulfill that role.
Yeah, get well soon, Thanasis. I will not forget that 8 seconds of defense you played on TJ McConnell in like the last game of the playoffs this last year. But get well soon, get healed, and we'll see you next season. Another player that I don't know when we're gonna see. I really hope to see him next season. Who knows? Lonzo Ball. He opted into his $21 million player option, which makes sense. But so he's missed the last 2.5 seasons with a knee injury. He had a surgery. The surgery didn't go well, which is super unfortunate. He signed a 4-year, $80 million deal in 2021.
Yeah, so
So
the sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they're going on almost 3 years of just paying this guy all 80 million, or it'll be I guess like 60 million, and he's not playing at all in the court, which the Bulls could use some of that money. Tell you that much. But what do you think about this? Do you think he's going to play soon? I don't know. I haven't heard anything, so I just don't know.
I remember when this contract was signed and the Bulls midway through this 2021-2022 season were the 1 seed, and then
Mhm.
Lonzo Ball was injured, and then they fell all the way down. And I think I want to say this was maybe the year before the play-in, or maybe they were a play-in team. I don't remember. They got bounced by like the Bucks in the first round.
Yeah, they
Um,
were an eighth. I remember they were an eighth seed. I think it was a play. I think it was a play in, but they became the eighth seed.
Yeah. And he literally hasn't played the 2 seasons since. So it's crazy. It's such a long time. It doesn't even feel like that long, but 2.5 seasons is nuts. And yeah, you mentioned the surgery that didn't go well. I know like there were reports before this season that were like Lonzo Ball may come back at some point, and then there were also reports that were like Lonzo Ball walking up the stairs, kind of. And it was like, okay, this guy's not playing basketball this season. He can't even walk upstairs without assistance. So you really hate to see it, obviously, not only for his NBA career, but just as a person, because that's a, kind of a debilitating, thing to have to go through. It reminds me, of the like the Brandon Roys and some people when we were growing up that had like really good spurts in the NBA, but then injuries kind of derailed their career and ended their career really quickly.
Yeah.
I don't think Lonzo Ball was quite that good. But he was a fine facilitator, a pretty good defender. He kind of developed a shot after his shot was very
Hmm.
broken coming into the league. So yeah, we hope he can get back on the court eventually to some capacity. Um, and the difference with this and someone like Ben Simmons, who like I don't know what his deal is. He's like in and out and in and out. This feels more, I guess, genuine. I don't know. Ben Simmons was at the Met
Well,
Gala. I don't know if you know
yeah, I was gonna put that in the notes, but I didn't. But
that.
I know like this is also different. Like this is like he like had a knee, like a really bad knee injury, got surgery, and the surgery was unsuccessful,
Yeah,
basically. So now he has to like rehab it.
right.
Whereas like Ben Simmons was like he was out for personal reasons, and then he has like a nerve in the back, and then it's back to personal reasons. Like I see like the comparisons different because
Mhm.
this is a bit more like concrete. Like, yeah, this is like someone an actual like not sorry, not actual, but like an injury to a body part that
Right.
needs to be healed type thing. So, I just want him to play basketball again. I don't know what's going to happen, but hopefully sooner rather than later.
Laker legend.
Like your legend, exactly. Oh my God, I never even watched him when he played on the Lakers. I was not watching basketball at that point.
Ugh, man.
It's probably a
Uh,
good thing.
another Laker legend, Christian Wood, picked up his $3 million player option. How do you feel
Yeah.
about that? Do you have thoughts? I saw you put this on there, and I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
well, I read it and I was like, I think, Christian Wood for 3 million is good. He didn't play a lot of the end of the season or in the playoffs. He was injured. I can't remember what it was exactly. He was pretty okay throughout the season. Like he did his job. So for 3 million, I think he's a good um player on the rotation, towards the end of the rotation, but he could definitely relieve. I don't know who's going to be on this team next year. The Lakers love last year we had pretty good consistency, continuity. Like we kept a lot of the same players. This next year, I don't know what's going to happen. Because we also got rid of our coach.
Mm,
Darvin Ham, he was dismissed via phone call by Rob Pelinka, who's the general manager of the Lakers. He was there with us for 2 seasons, and I know throughout this last season specifically, there were a lot of Laker fans calling for a new coach.
yeah,
Yeah, because Darvin Ham loves to not show any emotion, and I always was like, okay, maybe he's just calm, collected on the bench. But a lot of Lakers fans rubbed them the wrong way. Um, but some of the candidates include Ty Lue, which doesn't make a lot of sense because he's the Clippers head coach and will continue to be the Clippers head coach, I'm sure. But I think it's just because of his ties with LeBron that people want to, have those
yeah,
rumors. Mike Budenholzer, Kenny Atkinson, and JJ Redick. We talked about JJ Redick like 2 episodes ago about the Hornets.
yeah.
And I know they have the podcast now, so I think people are speculating. I
That would be
don't
insane.
I don't think it's going to happen. But this will be the fourth Lakers head coach in 7 seasons. We really haven't had any continuity since Phil Jackson.
Mhm.
And, I'm very jealous of all of these franchises that really have a franchise head coach. I think of Eric Spoelstra for the Heat.
Yeah,
Um, I think
Popovich,
of
Michael
Popovich
Malone.
for the Spurs, Michael Malone for the Nuggets, and sure, more I just can't think of like off the top of my head. But that's very. It's nice to know that you don't have to worry about the head coach, but the Lakers love to kind of, if something doesn't go our way, try to figure things out, try different things. So we'll see. We're not talking about the Lakers. It's not off-season talk yet or anything. So yeah, so we are looking for a new head coach.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed what I was doing when I was standing up. I was doing the hands and pockets. That
Oh, see, I thought you were looking for your phone or something.
I was standing up, putting my hands in my pockets because that's what I saw
That's
Laker
like
fans
all the yeah,
complain
all the
about. Because he's just, yeah, Darvin Ham. Because you mentioned the no emotion, he's just sitting there with his hands in his pockets.
that was
Yeah,
so funny. Okay, I thought you actually were looking for something.
watching the playoffs. I don't think Darvin Ham was an amazing coach. I definitely think, going back to the Nuggets series, there were times where the Lakers were up, the Nuggets would make a run, and he would wait, a little bit too long to call a timeout,
Hmm.
and let the Nuggets get back into it. So, like there were things like that would occur that is not are not great. But I do think, I mean, we'll get into the Nuggets Wolves series. The way the Nuggets are looking right now, it's like, oh, okay, maybe this team was beatable.
Yeah.
And I also think this is not a Darvin Ham issue, though. I think Darvin Ham could have been an issue. Like, yes, maybe he wasn't the greatest coach. It's also a rookie head coach on a team with championship expectations.
Yeah.
And I think more so, it's a roster issue and a general managing issue than a coaching issue. I think it's a Rob Pelinka issue, really. I think they're still kind of being haunted by the Russell Westbrook trade because
Yeah.
that never fit with their team. Not only did he never fit, but they got rid of KCP. They got rid of
Hmm.
Kyle Kuzma, both in that trade. People that would have been, great assets on their team to this day. So I think that trade and the trade to get him out of there, both of those kind of like, it just made the roster very questionable around LeBron and AD. So it's like Darvin Ham's being scapegoated essentially, I think, is what happened
Yeah.
here, which is unfortunate. Um, out of all
It
these,
happened also. Sorry,
sorry.
it also happened with Frank Vogel. I just wanted to say
Yeah, yeah, he
one
also
thing.
got
Yeah.
scapegoated. He's about to get fired again, by the way.
You
I
think?
think it's about to happen to him again.
But isn't this is his first season?
I know. I know.
And it's not even his
It's not his
fault.
fault. I know. This is what happens to coaches in the NBA.
I want to talk about that another time because
Um,
that makes me mad because he's a good coach. Anyways,
it
okay.
might happen. We'll see. Because there was a report that came out after the Suns were eliminated that players were like laughing during his speeches and stuff. Like, I mean, like it's not looking too good. Anyways,
Okay.
if it
Okay. Okay.
happens, we'll
Okay.
talk about it. Yeah, Ty Lue is probably going to sign an extension. I think with the Clippers, even with their loss, which we'll get to. Budenholzer won a championship with the Bucks. I mean, he was with the Hawks that were successful for a long time. Kenny Atkinson, I've sung his praises on the podcast before. I thought he was a really good coach for the Nets, but I think he's like a younger coach. Uh,
I don't know who that is.
he he coached the Nets when they had like D'Lo and Jared Dudley and like
Oh,
that
that Nets,
that yeah.
the Ice and Veins Nets.
Yeah, he was like big with that team, and he's a good like player development candidate. He was hired to be the Charlotte Hornets coach, and then he asked if he could bring his assistants on, and they said no, and he said never mind, then I'll just stay with the Warriors because he's like an assistant on the Warriors right now.
Yeah,
And then
gotcha,
they hired Steve Clifford instead. So
gotcha. Well,
um,
you see how that works out. Okay,
yeah,
and JJ Redick, we know how
yeah,
we
yeah,
feel.
yeah. Don't hire a rookie head coach. That's how I feel.
Yeah, agreed.
Anyways, moving on from that because we have a lot to get into, and I don't want to keep you here all night. Um, rumors, aside from head coaching rumors, Jimmy Butler has rumors about his future in Miami because he wants an extension. He has not been given an extension just yet. He wants a 2-year, $113 million extension. So that's, 56, 57 million per year. But the Heat are hesitant due to his age and injury history. This has not been said verbatim, but basically in Pat Riley's exit interview, he was like, "We want guys that are available and guys that will play the whole season, and we want guys that are not aging." Like he was just like saying stuff that was like, "Okay, you're talking about Jimmy Butler." Um, and some teams that have come out here, the 76ers, of course, with their cap space, that would be a reunion. He only played about a half season. That was against the Raptors, the Kawhi shot,
Yeah,
etc. The Knicks, because Tom Thibodeau is the coach. Jimmy Butler's been the Bulls with Tom Thibodeau. That's a Thibodeau guy. And even the Rockets have been rumored, which I think I don't like that because I don't want to
yeah,
pay Jimmy Butler, that's 37 years old, $50 billion every year,
yeah. To play like half the season too.
and
Yeah,
trade like, Cam Whitmore or Jalen Green or something to do it would be not good for me. So
yeah.
I'm going to pass on that just to be the, 10 seed in the West. I'm good. So yeah, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I also wanted I was going to add a note, but I did not get around to doing it. Did you see what Pat Riley, besides the exit interview, there was some comment that Jimmy Butler made about he was saying, if I was healthy, we'd be playing at home right now. We'd be in Miami and we'd be playing the Cavaliers.
Mm,
And then Pat Riley was asked about that during an interview or something, and Pat Riley said, people who don't play need to keep their mouth shut. Is
mm.
basically, and so it seems a little interesting. Maybe there's some kind of friction going on
Yeah.
in Miami regarding that. So we will see, and we will let everyone know what goes on with that. I don't know what they would do. I have a feeling he'll probably stay in the Heat, but
Yeah, me too. I do think about, Bam is only like 26, Tyler Hero is like 24, Jaime Jaquez had a really good rookie year. Nikola Jovic kind of started coming into his own late in the season. You have some young pieces there. You can kind of start the Bam timeline and get off the Jimmy timeline
yeah,
if you want, I guess. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know who is like I feel like Jimmy Butler is such a Heat guy. Like I don't know who's like, oh, give me 35-year-old $50 million Jimmy Butler. Yes, please, and we'll give you all our assets for him.
I'm just saying. I see. Well, I agree with you, and also I see Jimmy Butler as like the new Udonis Haslem, essentially. So he needs to just accept a minimum and just enjoy being there, and he'll still
Oh,
play.
he will definitely not do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Speaking of players who should just take the minimum or not even play,
Speaking
uh,
of players whose futures are in question, as in
yeah,
NBA future.
Patrick Beverley, who is currently on the Milwaukee Bucks, for now. He had an interaction with a fan in Indianapolis during the playoffs. While he was on the bench, he threw a ball at a fan after the game. So it's
He hit
from
a
the
woman
video
in
that
the
I
head.
saw. Yeah, he just threw the ball straight up at the woman and hit her in the head. I can't remember. I read something about what she might have been talking about. I think she was saying like go back to Milwaukee or like Pacers and six, whatever. Doesn't matter. You cannot do that. He also refused to answer a question to a journalist. A female journalist, I should also say, that was not subscribed to his podcast after the game. And the NBA is looking into these exchanges. And this, is after the loss to the Pacers, and eliminating the Bucks. Both of the people in this interactions were women. So a
Yeah,
lot has come out that he's just, I don't know, he's had issues before, usually on the court. So this is interesting now that it's really bystanders that are just taking on what is wrath. I don't understand.
right.
Um, but the Indianapolis police are investigating the incident, and they're working with the Gainbridge Fieldhouse, which is the arena that the Pacers play at, to review video footage and speak with the parties involved. And I also saw something really funny. Draymond Green, another guy who has issues on the court sometimes. He has his own podcast, which I don't listen to, but he talked about it and broke it down, which I thought was hilarious because he's like, it's like the guy in prison who's like, yeah, that guy, those are crimes that he
It's like
did. I'm
it's
like,
like the
how are you gonna
Spider-Man
do
meme.
that? Yeah, exactly. It's like you can't say you do that. You can't talk
Right.
like that. Anyways, my thoughts are you just gotta keep your emotions, and even I don't the one I really don't understand is the journalist one, because he didn't even seem like angry. He was just like, "Are you not subscribed? I'm not answering any questions from you. You're not subscribed. I'm not." Like it was so indifferent. Whereas
Yeah.
the other one, he was obviously like in the heat of the moment, they're losing. Like that's not excusable
I
at
believe
all.
he had, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the original interaction was maybe with a different fan while he was sitting on the bench during the
Hmm.
game. Like he was turning around, exchanging something with the fan
Oh,
during
okay.
the game. And then after the game is when he threw the ball. And I want to say he wasn't specifically targeting that person. I think he just kind of angrily threw it. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it literally hit him in the face. And then yeah, they asked him about the question. He said, "Oh, you subscribed? Oh no, okay, never mind." Apparently, he's been doing that throughout the season. Is what I heard as well. Like it's happened multiple times throughout the season for just random reporters after games that are just trying to do their job. So
Very unprofessional.
yeah,
So and unsportsmanlike. Yeah, so I we will, update everyone with what happens after that. But we have a couple more things I think that players have done in these playoffs that we're going to talk about, some questionable
how
things.
how about the Nick Wright video on Patrick Beverley that I sent you?
Oh, that was intense, but like
I
I get it. I
I
really
for
do.
people listening, if you don't know who Nick Wright is, he's has his own sports show on TV. I don't even remember what it's called.
Me either.
But it's like First Now something. I don't know.
Take? Not
No,
first
First Take
take.
is that's ESPN. That's Stephen A. Smith.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't remember. He has his own Nick Wright. Look him up. But I don't like him. I typically don't like his reporting. I don't like the stuff he says. I think he's wrong about a lot of things. I think the way he goes about reporting is like kind of silly. But the Patrick Beverley video was a good one. It was a good video.
Yeah.
I
It was being brutally honest,
yeah.
which you sometimes sometimes these NBA players, they kind of let ego or money, whatever, get to their head. And I don't think Nick Wright is the guy. He's probably has money and an ego as well. But he brings up a lot of good points about, when talking about how when he first joined the league, he was just excited to be there, happy to be there, playing basketball, doing what you love. And now it's becoming about these antics, about these things on the court that aren't even basketball related.
Hmm.
And I agree. It really needs to be, you can't lose sight of why you're there,
Hmm.
and obviously you cannot take it out on the fans or journalists. So
Congratulations, Patrick Beverley. You are a wizard. Um,
yeah, and then they'll buy you out, and then you'll probably end up playing, and well, what do they say in China, right?
oh yeah,
Is that Dwight Howard's going to recruit you?
you'll go to the Guangdong Sharks or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Um, you wanna recap some playoffs?
Let's do it. Let's get in the playoffs. Before we get into round two, a couple round one series that we hadn't had the chance to talk about because they ended after our last recording. So
Yeah.
we'll kind of go through those. We are talking Clippers Mavericks game six. The Mavs, they came out strong and had an 8-point lead after the first quarter. Then the Clippers kind of bounced back in the second with good defense, and they were both tied at halftime.
Hmm.
And eventually the Mavs kind of pulled away in the third. They ended up winning the third quarter by 15, and the game was not close after that. So Mavs in six, as predicted on two-man game with Damon and Dom by both hosts. By the way, we're geniuses here. I actually was going over my round one predictions with people at work. So I just
Yeah.
like I feel like I've thought about it so much I haven't memorized. And I was
Yeah.
like, I got that one right, that one right, that one. I was like, wow, I'm a genius. And then I was like, except Suns in six. I'm an idiot actually. Uh,
That because of that one, all the others are irrelevant.
but yeah, that was another series that we called well. In this game specifically, the Mavs stars showed up. Luca and Kyrie both had very good games. Really, Luca in the first half, Kyrie in the second half. I
Yeah.
know going into game one of the Thunder, I believe Kyrie was averaging 6 points in the first half and 20 points in the second half in the
Sounds about right.
playoffs. So,
Yeah.
Luka kind of carries the load in the first half, and then Kyrie in the second half. I don't think it's happening like that on purpose. It's just kind of what happened so far.
Yeah.
And then the Clippers were very inefficient, shooting 42% and 26% from three. Just kind of bad shot making from them, and pretty solid Mavericks defense throughout the game. And their stars did not show up. No Harden, no Paul George in this one. They were kind of no shows, and of course, the Clippers were therefore eliminated.
I did just also want to say, just the way you worded that, they played. They just played like they weren't there. That's all.
Uh,
I just want to make sure it was obvious.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Unlike Kawhi Leonard, who did not play,
Yeah, he was a no-show because he
he
wasn't, well, he was on the bench because he couldn't play.
he only played 2 games in the series, both of which the Clippers have lost. Um, So yeah, in that game, Maxi Kleber took a pretty hard fall. It was rough and did not return to the game. He shot his free throws and then left to go get examined in the locker room. They discovered a dislocated AC joint in his shoulder, and he is out indefinitely. We've kind of had a numerous amount of shoulder injuries that have ended seasons. Julius Randle, John Morant, the two to come to
Hmm.
mind for me. So I don't imagine Maxi will come back, which is unfortunate because I know he hasn't played a lot this season, but I think this specific matchup currently against the Thunder, which we'll get into, he could have been very useful because he's a
Absolutely.
spacing big, just like Chet Holmgren. So that would have been
Yep.
nice to counter that with. So, hope he gets better, and we'll update you if we hear anything about that. And then in the results of the series, Jason Kidd signed a multi-year extension right after the series is over. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Coaching continuity there in Dallas. And yeah, that is all she wrote. Mavs playing the Thunder. Game one has already happened. We'll talk about that. But
Hmm.
first, do you have anything you want to say about this game, or shall we dive into what's next for the Intuit Dome bound Los Angeles Clippers?
I just wanted to say that it was a very well fought game on the first half, I noticed, and then second half, I don't know what happened to the Clippers, but they really seemed like they just kind of gave up. They just weren't playing as well. I'm very proud of Luca and Kyrie for doing their thing, and also the defense of the Mavericks. And yeah, it's very unfortunate about Maxi Kleber. I unfortunately did not watch this game live, but I did see before I saw the highlights of the game, I saw that clip of Maxi Kleber falling, and that looked nasty. So
Yeah.
I hope he gets better soon. I doubt he'll be back as well for the playoffs, but mostly what matters most is that he gets his health back. As for the Clippers, you know how I feel about the Clippers. You know how good this felt for me.
Rebel, rebel.
I reveled in it, I'm telling you. But it's interesting. I wish I had the contracts in front of me because I don't know. So I know Kawhi Leonard is extended, so Kawhi
Yeah,
Leonard will be a Clipper.
yeah.
Paul George has not been extended,
Nope.
so they are figuring out that perhaps maybe he will sign somewhere else. And
76ers.
that has been the rumor. I've heard 76ers, which wouldn't be bad. I have other ideas,
But
I
PG
think,
is
but
from LA. Wanted to go to LA. So,
yeah, I have a feeling he will probably stay with the Clippers, but probably sign a shorter contract, maybe like two years,
right.
player option 3 years. I imagine that they would want to get rid of James Harden, but I don't
Already?
know. I would.
They just got him.
I would. I would want to
Hey,
get
he
rid of him.
carried him that game four victory. Is that the game where he made floater after floater after floater to,
Yeah, because Luke had 5 fouls. So
right.
yeah.
I
But
think he's a free agent though, Harden. I believe he got traded. He accepted his player option to play
right.
for the
And then he
76ers and then got traded to the Clippers. So I think he's
okay.
also a free agent.
So so I if I was the Clippers, I wouldn't re-sign him because I don't think I would rather use that money because he's gonna want a lot of money because it's James Harden. Rather
Mhm.
use that to kind of obviously your depth. This playoff series proved that you need a little bit more depth. You don't need like the 3 stars. If you
Yeah,
want to get further than the first round. I mean, they were good in the regular season, and then the Mavericks, they beat you. If you can't rely on someone who's not going to be there in the playoffs. So that's just my feelings on it.
mhm.
But again, I am a little biased, but I want what's best for them, obvious. Like I don't want to see them crash and burn. If I did, I would be like sign Harden to a max deal for like 7 years, but that's not me. But that's just from what I saw this season. But what do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, this season was interesting. You had the 25-5 run, where they looked like the best team in the NBA. They were totally unstoppable. And I don't know. I mean, is this the case for load management? Should they have played less in the regular season so they were ready? I don't know. You look at a team like the Knicks, who, I don't know, Josh Hart's knees might be non-existent after this playoff series, but he said, I believe, when asked like, how do you guys play these games like back to back, like 40 plus minutes? And he said, because we did it in the regular season, so we're used to it. So, it's tough to say what the right answer there is. I guess it depends on the
Yeah.
player. I know I'm no cap expert, but I believe when you have a player and they become a free agent, you have their bird rights, which means you can sign them even if it puts you over the cap. So even though James Harden might want a big contract, I don't know if by not signing him, the Clippers will have money to spend because they are an expensive team already with Kawhi
Mm,
Leonard's contract, Terrence Mann, other people on their roster. I believe they were a luxury tax team this year, maybe as close to the second apron. So I don't know, even if they don't sign him, if how much money that frees up because it's a bird rights deal and you can go into the negative if it's a player that was already on your roster rather than a new player.
got it. Also, I'm pretty sure Ivica Zubac is going to be a free agent. I saw something
Mm.
that Clippers want to re-sign him, which I would too. But what do you think they should do? What do you think what's next?
Um, this is a tough place to be, because Kawhi, Harden, Paul George, all in their 30s, all getting older. Um, Kawhi obviously 3 years in a row that he hasn't finished a playoff series. Um, Paul George gets knick-knack injuries here and there. And Harden is not as injury prone, but also not the player he was when he won MVP 7 seasons ago. So it's tough to say, because they don't have draft capital either because they traded for all these, they traded for these people, so you can't really rebuild. I guess honestly for next season, especially because they're going into a new arena, they have new logos. I feel like you have to try to retool around their stars and try to make it work. I don't think you can go into a new place with like a ripped down roster built from
Yeah,
the studs. So I
that makes
don't
sense.
yeah, I feel like they're gonna have to kind of find the role players that maybe fit in. And they might end up with the first round exit again, and that's probably like a better debut in the Intuit Dome than
Then like not even making the playoffs or
yeah, than like a
something. Yeah.
disaster of a team. So it's a tough place to be for them. I think they're kind of like the Suns, their future is very bleak because their stars are old and they don't have any draft capital.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit brighter than the Suns though, just because I
Yeah,
feel
the
like at least LA is a destination players might want to come to.
team has Bones
Just
Highland.
his exactly. Come on. And Russell Westbrook off the bench. But yeah, I just historically it seems like players will want to come here. Also, you got to shout out Norman Powell who played his brains out. I mean,
Mm,
that if people weren't wrote him off, I would say he's probably like for me him or Paul George like the MVP of that that playoff first round
mhm.
exit. But he did his job very well, and he's probably a player I like the most on the Clippers. Does his job very well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, okay, so that's Clippers. We'll see what they do. I will definitely go to a game next year, no matter what they do, because I want to see this into a dome. But
Five
let's talk
five
about
years since the trade, three playoff series victories. Tough.
oh yeah, tough. Let's go East Conference real quick. So this is gonna be the end of round one. This is the first series in these playoffs that went to 7 games. So
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about game six and game
I
seven.
really
So
needed 7 games of this.
yeah, it was a very knockdown, drag out series, but I gotta say it was very entertaining to watch a young Magic team try to find that identity. You really in especially game seven, you saw where they lacked on offense. That was obviously where they lacked creation, they lacked shooters.
Mm.
But congrats to them for pushing it to 7 games. I know it's got to be like a boost for next year. Congrats to Jamal Mosley also for coaching a great season. So
Hmm.
game six, before we also get into the games, just want to say that in this series, every home team won the game.
Yeah.
Every game. Yeah. Which
And predicted Cavs in seven. Who was that? Oh, that was me. That was me.
yeah, I think I said Magic in seven, but I conceded because I went with my heart, but I should have went with my mind. But anyways, it was very cool. I went to 7 games. Game six was very close. The Cavs offense could not get anything going aside from 50 points from Donovan Mitchell. That's more than half of his team's points.
Yeah.
And he also had all of the fourth quarter points, which is crazy. Literally.
He
No
literally
one else
wasn't
could make
passing the ball. It was like-
no one else is going to do anything. Darius Garland unfortunately did not show up in the second half. First half he was okay. Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and Jalen Suggs are the third trio in NBA history to be 22 or younger and all have 20 points in the same game.
Can you guess the other two?
Um, I'm going 22 or younger.
22 or younger. I'll give you a hint.
Yeah,
The
I need
trios are
hints.
on the same team. Like both of these trios are three people on the same team. But
Uh,
like one of the people changed, basically. And it is a team that made the finals to play the Heatles, the LeBron Heat, when they were
um,
very young.
I was gonna say is it Spurs?
Nope. Spurs are too old.
Um, Spurs are too old. Dang it. Who else did they play in the Thunder? Oh, Harden, Durant, and Westbrook.
That's one of them.
And then Harden, no, no,
Not
no.
Harden.
Yeah, Durant, Westbrook, and Ibaka.
Eddie Baca.
Are you
That's
serious?
right. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Let's
that's fun.
go.
Hey, that's like the first time you actually asked me a trivia question. You basically handed it to me, but it's the first time I got it right on the pod live. So I'm proud of myself. You know what's helping? Those I called games, that's for
I
sure.
called games. That's
I
why I was
would
like,
be
you'll
so
know. You'll
lost.
you'll know the
Be like,
team.
I don't know anything about that. But in this game, game six, Franz had a really good first half. Paolo was clutch down the stretch. I mean, when he gets to his spots, he is lethal. That's what I've noticed about this. He definitely is like 21, 22, plays like a grown man.
Yeah.
And Jalen Suggs is also, his impact was insane. He was playing defense very well on Donovan Mitchell and all the guards on the Cavaliers, and he made some timely threes as well. It's important to note, though, that Jared Allen was out for this game and also game seven,
Mhm.
and it continues to be out, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Wearing my
Um,
headband in honor of all the headbanded people. Jalen
and then
Suggs, the Jared Allens, the Josh Harts of the playoffs.
yeah, Derek
Welcome
White,
home.
not so much anymore. He's the one I thought of, but he doesn't have hair anymore. So
True.
I keep forgetting. In this game six, there's a lot of flopping, sloppy play, and trash talk down the stretch. But the Magic, they were able to uh, hold Donovan Mitchell off at the 50 points. I mean, his game is what you know what he's doing. I mean, he's just trying to get to the basket and get a good layup. So um, they were able to stop him and push to game seven.
Yeah,
And you want me to take over game seven? Since it's just like I'll just continue it real quick.
sure.
Just might as well. So game seven, I watched most of this. It was very, very slow. The Magic though were making their shots. Their offense was going on all cylinders. The Cavaliers just couldn't get anything going. They were up by as many as 16. And the Cavaliers could not stop Paolo Banchero. He made I think like 26 points in the first half.
Thanks.
Uh, yeah, he made like a lot of points in the first half, but second half was a totally different story. The Cavaliers came back with a vengeance. He finished with 39, 9, and 5 by taking over the game.
Who?
Evan
You
Mobley.
just said he. Did you say
I
his
meant
name?
he was taking over the game, Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell, yeah. I didn't hear you
Yeah.
say Donovan Mitchell. Did you say Donovan?
Oh, did I not say it? Okay.
I thought you said he. I was like Paolo. I was like, huh? What?
Donovan Mitchell, he finished with 39, 9, and 5, and he took over the game in the second half. Evan Mobley had a really good defensive game. He got a couple blocks on the stretch, got a lot of good rebounds, and that was without Jared Allen once again.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Magic just could not get any offense going. They had some really bad foul call, like offensive foul calls. Like I remember there was one play, Jalen Suggs made a three, but they ruled it a kick out,
Mm,
so it was an
yeah,
offensive foul.
yeah.
A very like momentum kind of changing call. They Franz Wagner was shy. He
Oh,
wasn't like
he
taking
was abysmal.
shots.
He was like 1 for 10 or something.
Yeah, it would go down like toward the hoop, do a floater and miss every single one. It was tough to see because he really can be very good. But the good thing is they know what they need to work on.
Mm.
You need someone who can help create. You need shooters, and I can't wait to see what this team does. But what do you think is next for them? What do you think they should? I guess I kind of just said what I think, but what do you think they should do?
Yeah,
What's next?
shout out to the Magic. I don't think anyone had expectations, going into the season of them being a 5 seed. They pushed the Cavs to 7. I think this is a disaster for the Cavs if they lose the series 2 years in a row, losing as the favorite in the first round. I think, you know, now that they're in the second round playing the Celtics, no one expects them to win, so it's fine if they lose. But if they would have lost here, it would have been like terrible for them. Their whole team would have been in utter disarray. Um,
Especially because they lost intentionally to get this seed. That's all I wanted to say.
right, right. Um, but yeah, the Magic, I think this is a good season. Shout out to them. Shout out for showing up. You mentioned someone of a point guard, someone to facilitate. You said something like that. That is the number one priority, to figure out their offense. I think, as much as great as Jalen Suggs has been for them, he's not really a one. He's more of a two. He's more of a, he's developed his shot, which is really nice, and he plays great defense, but he's not an amazing facilitator. Um, and going into the season, I was like, man, the Magic have so many guards, which was interesting, but none of them are like true blue point guards. Gary Harris, more of a shooting guard. Cole Anthony, while being 5'11", is a scoring guard. Markelle Fultz is a scoring guard. Anthony Black didn't see the floor, neither did Jet Howard. Jet Howard's a shooting guard. Anthony Black's a big defensive point guard, so maybe that kind of fits into their system, but he didn't get much run. So
Yeah.
what's the answer for them? I'm not sure. I think there's not a lot of people in the market I can really think of. Perhaps with the good defense, the team of the number 2 defense, I believe, in the NBA this season. This could be a Trae Young destination, somewhere for uh, where the defense can kind of make up for his lack thereof, but he can facilitate the offense, kind of that give and take. Or maybe they want the other guy. Maybe they want DeJounte Murray, because he kind of fits in with that defense and has a little more facilitating ability. But I think that's definitely the number one priority. With Paolo and Franz, developing both nicely. Paolo's like, I feel like he's kind of going to take that, Anthony Edwards-esque jump in a year or two, where he's
Yeah.
like a guy,
Absolutely.
because he's this is only his second year, and he was looking like a rock star in the playoffs. I mentioned that going into my prediction for this series that I thought Donovan Mitchell was clearly the best player, and that's why I had the Cavs in 7. And, I mean, he had some crazy offensive games there, but Paolo did more than I thought. So I think their wings are good. I think their shooting guard is good. I think Wendell Carter is respectable at center. Maybe a better backup, so we're not running a ton of like Jonathan Isaac at the 5 and
Hmm.
some other people. But yeah, point guard is the number one priority, facilitating, getting that offense going, getting some shooters maybe too. Because
Yeah.
as great as Paolo and Franz are, they're not 3-point shooters. Wendell Carter can kind of shoot. Um,
Yeah. And shooter's not as old as Joe Ingles.
Joe Ingles not Joe Ingles shouldn't be in the NBA anymore. we're
Yeah.
we're past our time, Joe Ingles. It's
Yeah.
okay.
It was a questionable signing at the time, anyways. I guess I understood what they were trying to do. They knew they needed shooting, but they got the only person that was available, I guess, at the time. But I agree with you. I'm very excited to see what they do. The Orlando Magic have been a team I never really cared for, just because
No
it's
one
just
cared
not
about the
relevant
Vucevic
to
era,
me.
okay?
Yeah, and I also didn't never like their jerseys because I don't like the way like the neck looks. That's
Dude, the
just I'm very
pinstripe is
particular.
is
But the
is elite though.
pinstripe and the
And the pinstripe
stars
paint,
with the
awesome.
classic too that they had
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this year, that one was pristine. Also, I just really like a really well defensive minded team. So
Yeah.
they're
Sign
definitely a
Austin
team.
Rivers.
Please, please, please. They're definitely a time. Sorry, they're definitely a team I will be watching and looking forward to watching for the next few years.
Yeah.
But I want you to start talking about the Nuggets and Timberwolves.
Uh,
Let's get
I
into
have
round
to.
two. Let's get into round
Oh,
two.
round
Round
two.
two.
Yeah, round two has been unpredictable so far, I would say. Well,
Mhm.
we both picked Timberwolves in six, I believe. So far, that prediction is looking bad because it looks like it might be Timberwolves in four. Um, and
Ugh.
I mean, right team, wrong amount. This is interesting. Basically, if you don't know if you're listening, the Timberwolves have just been slapping around the Denver Nuggets. That's like the easiest way to put it. Um, Maybe a highlight for the Phoenix Suns. Maybe this makes them look a little better if the Timberwolves are killing everyone.
Yeah.
Um, Anyways, into game one, the first game of round two, the Wolves defense, you can see it right away. The Nuggets offense was struggling early on, and the Wolves got up to a lead. The Nuggets ended up going on a run as they typically do and bounced back, and they took a lead in the second, and ended up taking the lead into half. Anthony Edwards, as predicted, was carrying a lot of the offensive load, having 25 of their first 40 points, which is what they had at halftime. Jamal Murray, 0 points in the first half. So he was not looking super healthy still. He had some rest. I believe this game was on like Saturday, I believe was game one of this series, and they ended the Lakers series last Monday. So it was a decent amount of rest in between the end of that series and the start of this game, but he still doesn't look quite right. And the Wolves defense has really been bothering him. And the third, both offenses came out really, really hot. Carl Anthony Towns was great. He scored like five of the first six. I'm not exactly sure. I was counting as I was watching and making notes at the same time, but I believe it was five of their first six baskets. And then the Wolves made their first nine shots. They like just were not missing at all. You
Oh,
had a
I was gonna say, is this the game where he made a three and like they called it Nuggets called a timeout and he just like smiled at the basket for like 5 seconds?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
because
he was
that
feeling.
that was a good feeling. Yeah, he was feeling good.
Yeah, and then Mike Conley towards the end of the third ended up shooting 4 for 4 and then kind of leading them down the stretch. On the other end, the Nuggets were scoring relatively easily for themselves. They were kind of pushing the pace, not allowing the Wolves to set their defense, which has been awesome as we've talked about all season. Number one defense in the playoffs so far as well. Jokic ended up drawing a lot of fouls. And I noted during this game, at this point, the Nuggets had shot 14 free throws and the Wolves had only shot seven. So they had shot double their free throws, and it was a very close game, which I thought was interesting. The Wolves ended up with a 2 point lead at the end of the third. In the fourth, Cat quickly got into foul trouble, as he often does, because that is kind of his thing, just silly fouls. He actually hit Jamal Murray on a 3 pointer. Jamal Murray made it, so it was a 4 point play. And it felt at the time like a big momentum killer. But maybe it was actually helping because with Cat in foul trouble, Nas Reed was put into the game. And this was the craziest part of the game. I was watching this game and I was like, oh, wait, that just happened? And that just happened? So basically, Nas Reed, first thing he does is hit a bank three off the backboard. Okay. And then the next possession, I believe it was Anthony Edwards, took a like transition three, bounced up in the air, and then Nas Reed flew into the paint and dunked a putback and then was like screaming at the entire Nuggets team. The following possession, he was going to shoot a three in the corner, pump fake, drove to the basket, got an and one layup. And then the possession after that hit another three. So four straight possessions, 14 points for Nas Reed in the fourth quarter alone to give the Wolves the lead. And that's when they started pulling away with timely shots from Anthony Edwards as well. Jokic made tough baskets on the stretch. The Wolves made it very hard for him. He was fighting all game. We mentioned, I think, in our prediction, that you can't really stop Jokic, but throwing Rudy Gobert, Cat, who has been his primary defender this series, Rudy Gobert's been on Aaron Gordon, and Nas Reed on the bench, all three of those guys and him is going to make it really tough. And Nas Reed
Yeah.
is not really known as a defender, but he was playing some great defense, especially in game two. And yeah, Jokic had ended up this game with 32 points, which is like a good number, but he was relatively inefficient. He shot like 61% during the regular season, not nearly as high in this game and the following game. Didn't have as
Mhm.
much rebounds as he often gets. So it just looked tough for the Nuggets all game. They looked tired, especially you mentioned the lack of depth earlier. Yeah, I feel like I could really see that because off the Wolves bench are guys like Nikhil Alexander Walker. Um, Sorry, I'm Kyle
Monte
Anderson,
Morris, Kyle
Monty,
Anderson.
Nas Reed. Like these are the guys coming off the Wolves bench. Nuggets, like here's Christian Brown who can barely play. Who's Reggie Jackson who looks
Peyton
like he got
Watson.
injured. Peyton
Yeah.
Watson who hasn't gotten a ton of runs. So It's just been, two different stories. Jaden McDaniels finished game one with 0 points, and the Wolves won. So that's not good for your roster. And yeah, it was a crazy, crazy game, a very entertaining game. Game two was not quite that, but I'll let you take that over because I want you to have some say in this too. I know this is your
Thank
team
you.
now that the Lakers are out.
Yeah, they definitely are. I'm very proud of this team. I want you to kind of chime in too for this though, because there's
Okay.
this is some a lot of quite a few things happen in this one.
Yeah.
The game one was all about basketball.
Yeah.
Game two, a little bit more stuff happening off the court, on the court. So,
Right.
first thing I want to mention is that Rudy Gobert did not play because he had his firstborn child. So,
Yay.
I'm congratulations to him and the Rudy Gobert family.
Can I
And
speak to the fact that I don't know if you saw this, but Gilbert Arenas and his bad podcasting, another person with a
wait,
bad podcast.
no, what did he
He
say?
says stupid stuff on the podcast all the time. Like he said Nikola Jokic is the worst MVP in the NBA history. Like he says stuff like just stupid
Just to
things.
get people riled. Yeah, okay,
Um,
I'm sure. Yeah.
but when it was announced that Rudy Gobert is going to be out because of this, he would like basically just trash talked him and was like, "You're not showing up to the playoff games for the birth of your child. I would miss anything for the birth. Like I would miss anything for the playoffs. That comes first." I was like, "Oh, shut up!" And a lot of people are like, or NBA Twitter and stuff are commenting about this and just being negative about it. It's like
It's
it's
it's it's unfortunate because I
it's
actually
just a
saw
game, guys,
it's just a game. It's just a game. At the child is family is forever. Okay, and playoffs are very important. Yes, but
and
you
they
know,
clapped him without
and exactly, and it looks like he didn't even need to be there.
him.
Actually, probably was a good thing. No, I'm kidding. Well, obviously we're very
Rudy
glad that he
Gobert
was there.
washed.
DPOY washed. We're very glad he was there for the birth of his child. I actually saw a lot of NBA players, congratulating and saying, like, we're humans too. Like we want to be there for us these special moments. And this isn't just like it was like another recital. It wasn't like his like first basketball. It was like him being born, first
Birth.
kid. Come on.
Not only birth of the child, but supporting the mother, right? Like being there for them going
Absolutely.
through
It's not just about,
childbirth.
yeah, it's about the family. And so very happy for him. So first
NBA
quarter,
players don't conceive in October or September or
just
whatever month
plan.
led to this.
I
Don't
think
don't do it then.
yeah. Plan
There
better.
you go.
Okay, so this game, first quarter, was very close in the beginning. Well, actually, wait, no, was this the one where they went up ahead by 18-4?
Yeah, they were blasting them
Okay,
immediately.
yes, I'm so sorry. I was not close in the beginning. The Minnesota Timberwolves were blasting the Nuggets in the beginning. The Nuggets called like two timeouts within like the first 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Because the Timberwolves were just playing straight jacket defense, and Anthony Edwards and Cat were just making shots. Kyle Anderson was in the starting lineup.
Yeah. Played
And
very well.
he played very well. In the first
His
quarter,
arms are very long.
they sure are slow-mo. And that's his nickname. I'm not just calling him slow.
Well, it's
So
interesting. He was using it to his advantage. Like people were walking or not walking by him, they were driving by him. He was like
yeah,
back tapping the ball out of their hands to cause turnovers and such.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely a tactic, and it works for him. And I know he's been doing that since the Spurs days, and on the Grizzlies. So that's how he plays. But so in the first quarter, it was very obvious the Nuggets were frustrated. Okay,
Yeah.
Jamal Murray could not make any shots. Jokic was the only one like he was trying to get things working, but it was tough. It was very good defense. After two no calls, after Cat backed down, um, was it Aaron Gordon? No, Jamal Murray. He backed down Jamal Murray and then got a layup because Jamal Murray fell. And then Anthony Edwards went for a dunk on KCP. KCP fell. After two no calls, Michael Malone stormed into the middle of the court and yelled directly in the referee Mark Davis's face. Like not even 2 inches away from his face, screaming.
Hmm.
And it resulted no ejection, no fine, no technical called. And I was rewatching the clip and I put a note because I thought it was
I
very
saw this
funny.
happen in real time.
So in the first game of this series, Anthony Edwards uh did a very good move. He was backing down Reggie Jackson, spun around him and dunked. and then he stared at Reggie Jackson, and he got called for technical in the first game of this playoff series. Second game of this playoff series, Michael Malone storms the court, yells in this referee's face. Anthony Edwards is right there, and he's backing away slowly once Michael Malone gets there, and he starts with his two hands kind of like doing the T for technical. Like, I mean, I got it for staring. Like, this
Yeah.
guy's yelling in your face. You gonna call a tech? And he did not call a tech.
It was
Are you
also
kidding me?
when Anthony Edwards, he just made a crazy play where it looked like he was going to dunk, and then he was just in the air longer than everybody else and ended up laying it up. And then he was like shrugging his shoulders at Mark Davis, like, no foul. And then Michael Malone storms past him,
Yeah,
just
and it's
start
like
yelling at him. And he's like, oh,
it's
wait,
like
what's
give
going
that
on
guy
here?
T. Come on. Yeah, that was in. I've never seen that.
He
I
was
don't.
in his face. He was pointing. I mean, he was
I saw
huge.
it was like literally like so it was like spinning like you could see that, and then Aaron Gordon was there trying to pull him away, but he was I cannot believe, especially when we get into this game we talked about today. I cannot believe some of
Aaron
this
Gordon had
officiating.
like the first 15 points.
Yeah, Aaron Gordon
Like
was the
15,
was
not the first 15, 15 in the first.
yeah, he was getting some good cuts, and Jokic was finding him under the basket. Only one really making any shots, but I just can't get over the fact that no
Oh,
no technical whatever. We're gonna keep going. Um, this game was as close as it was gonna get in the first quarter, and then Minnesota pulled away in the second. The Nuggets were just kept turning it over. This defense was incredible. There have been a lot of clips circulating just about some of they were Jaden McDaniels was on Jamal Murray was full court pressing him. So many turnovers from that. And Cat made a lot of great threes. And I also want to say that Jamal Murray's first shot came in the second quarter, was scoreless in the first quarter. And it was also a tough shot that he made. Um, Another thing Jamal Murray did in the second quarter, which has been circulating, you might have heard about, is that he was sitting on the bench, and it was a play that Cat was going for a layup, and he got his own rebound twice, and then eventually made a layup. But in the middle of this, Jamal Murray threw a heat pack from the bench at the referee, missed the referee, and it went right into the floor, right under everyone's feet. And KCP saw it, and he like threw it after like Cat made the shot. And the referee didn't see where it came from, just kind of like buzzed his whistle, like made sure everything's clear, and they continued playing. Um, Nothing, you know. So anyone can throw anything on the court if you're a player at the referee, and it's totally okay. This was such an interesting like social experiment on like you're the defending champs, like what can you get away with? At least this is what it seemed like to me. Um, I mentioned the Anthony Edwards technical in the first game, and just for looks, and this is very physical. Like this is you're throwing something, you're in someone's face. Nothing called. Um, and there was a lot of calls. What's going to happen is are they going to look into this? And it was announced the day after the game that he will be fined $100,000 for this. I
yeah, I
mean,
think
yeah. What do you think about that?
I think the reason it wasn't addressed in real time is because they didn't know what happened and they didn't want to like stop the whole game, look into the video, figure out what happened, address it then. Because then you got fans waiting, you have people in the watch. I think I don't really mind that nothing happened during the game for this because I feel like Mark Davis just like, oh, like we're in a playoff game, like we don't want to ruin the tempo, like let's just keep it going. I get that. I do like that he was fined after the fact, although Jamal Murray makes $28 million. I'm sure 100K is whatever for him. I know some people were lobbying for a suspension, and that didn't happen. So, you know, that's whatever. But um, yeah, it's dangerous. It's one of those things where we watch people all the time. They accidentally step on somebody's shoe. You think Kelly Oubre landing on Jimmy Butler's foot out for the whole playoffs. Stuff like that happens all the time. That's in the game of basketball. This is outside of the game of basketball. This is emotions getting the best of you. I've seen the clip. You can kind of barely see him in the corner. It does look intentional. Like it looks like I don't know. Like I guess some people are arguing that it looks like he was just trying to like kind of like he was mad and shaking his fist kind of, but he accidentally let it go. But it does look like a wind up and like a release. And the heat pack clearly slides onto the floor. Anybody, a teammate or somebody on the other team can easily step, slip, and then boom, sprained ankle. You're out for four
Yeah.
to 6 weeks. So yeah, that's just unacceptable behavior, obviously. Um, but props to the Wolves. The defense they've been playing, the length, the wingspan of all their guys. They've been giving Jamal Murray and the rest of the Nuggets so much trouble. They're playing with so much heart, so much hustle. It's great to see defensive possessions where they get stops and they do things and they're like congratulating each other and like having
Yeah,
camaraderie in that, which is really nice. So shout out to them for that. Glad no one was hurt. Um,
absolutely.
I do want to mention really quickly Tim Connolly, the general manager of the Wolves, the one that made the Rudy Gobert trade to put this team together that a lot of people, myself included, gave them flack for because it was like, oh my God, you just traded 5 picks and 3 players, and what the heck for this guy? And you already have Karl Anthony Towns. What are you doing? Um, well, Tim Connolly was also the general manager that put the Denver Nuggets together, this core, before he went over to the Wolves. And so yeah, so he actually kind of built the Wolves to beat this team, and it's working. So,
That's
but Tim,
so interesting. I did not know that.
yeah, so Tim Connolly is the man in building teams because he built the Nuggets and then he said, "I'm going to build a team to beat that team." Actually, and it's working. And Jokic has said before in press conferences, he's like, what can people do? And he's like, just have a lot of big guys, and it'll be tougher for me, basically.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they're doing. And of course, the rest of their defense, like I mentioned, is just nice to see. I also wanted to mention Monte Morris revenge series, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
the Wolves have the number one defensive rating in the postseason, as they did in the regular season. Um, Offensive rating, where do you think they're at in the postseason? So far with all the teams in the playoffs.
I mean, honestly, I'd probably say like second.
Yeah, they're number one. So they have the number one
Yeah, I
offense
was
in the
yeah.
postseason too. So
Yeah, it sounds about
I
it
mean,
looks like it's clicking.
yeah,
Like they
they're just playing out of their mind. If you put if you made my life decision on who's winning the finals, and I had to make that decision right now, I'd probably go with this team because they
yeah.
haven't lost a game. Um, so yeah, we haven't even finished game two. Sorry, I just wanted like a
Yeah, no,
tirade
you're good.
there.
You're good. It's very game two is very easy to clear up. Wolves went up by 32 at one point in the third quarter. Their defense and their bench, they eventually were playing Luka Garza with like 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter because it was like they were up by like 30, 25, something like that. The closest Denver got was 20 in the fourth, but the Timberwolves were not phased by that. It was not going to get any closer. Fans in the stands were chanting Wolves in four during the last few minutes of this game, which is crazy because Ball Arena in Denver is known to be a loud place. The Nuggets fans are very, very passionate. And, maybe it rivals some other, Madison Square Garden obviously won, and then Oklahoma City. They have also a very loud crowd, but
Warriors.
Warriors, of course. But to be able to hear Wolves in four being chanted is got to be demoralizing.
Mhm.
And now they got to go to Minnesota, and they're playing tomorrow,
Going to
game
Minnesota
three.
down 2-0 is something else.
I have been in my cart is a Anthony Edwards Nas Reed shirt that I
Oh,
need to
not the
buy.
one you sent me. Not that
Of
one.
course, it's that one. Of
Uh,
course, it's that one. But yeah, I'm just very happy to see how successful they are, and I love the you mentioned this earlier, the camaraderie between the players. Like they also, I don't know if you saw this, but they were there when Rudy got DPOY.
mhm.
There's like a little ceremony. The whole team showed up for that, and then
Oh, I
also the
didn't
whole
know that.
team congratulated him for his for his child. So it's very very nice to see that it's more than just basketball. So the the what binds them together is very deep, and very excited to see what they do this playoffs. And like you said, they're undefeated. One and only two teams are undefeated still so far in the playoffs. You got to
Oh
be
yeah,
pretty special.
yeah. I was like, who's the other one? I know who it is.
Yeah, we'll talk about them a little bit later. Let's dive into another game.
I have a question for you
Oh yeah, please.
before. How are we feeling about the Anthony Edwards Michael Jordan comp?
Oh, I mean, I agree with what a lot of with what Anthony Edwards says. Like, stop comparing me. I am Anthony Edwards,
Mhm.
but I also I keep seeing that he does a lot of things like him. Like he made the three and shrugged, like did the
Yeah,
famous Michael Jordan shrug. And the thing is, I think he's just having fun.
yeah.
And I honestly just makes me happy to see someone having fun, you
Mhm.
know? and in the playoffs. And you know, Anthony Edwards is so young.
6'6" shooting guard.
Yeah, there's a lot of comparisons you can draw, but also his defense has gotten better. I mean, but there's a lot of players that can be similar. But
Yeah,
let's I like what Anthony Edwards said. Like, let me just play the game. Let me be me. Let me have fun. Let me do what I can do, and then we'll compare later, basically.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, I know there are a lot of moments where he looks just like Michael Jordan, and I gotta say it's there for sure.
Every player thinks that, or we had Kobe, we had T-Mac, we had all these people that are the next
Yeah,
Michael Jordan.
exactly. But I'm happy for him,
He's the
obviously.
next Anthony Edwards.
Exactly.
22 years old, by the way.
There you go. Crazy. Congrats
Yeah,
to them.
I really want you to break down game one of Knicks versus Pacers because I feel as if you are oh so passionate about it. And of course I will chime in here and there.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I
Let's do
know
it.
guys,
All right.
we talked before this podcast and we have a big officiating problem that we're
Huge.
trying to not talk about for every episode for a long time. But god damn it if we don't see it every goddamn game.
It's really, yeah, it's like they're not even listening to our podcast. It's like they're not even listening to what our advice is or anything. It's crazy. So I'm going to start with I'm going to start with something else that I think needs to be worked on because it used to never happen. So watching this game, first game, so this Eastern Conference semifinals, New York Knicks, Indiana Pacers.
Mhm,
Pacers are wearing yellow.
mhm,
Okay. The side of their jersey is white.
mhm.
Knicks are wearing white. I am not kidding. While watching this game, I thought there were like way more turnovers than there were because like they were passing the ball and I was like, they just passed it to a Nick. But it was a pace, it was so confusing as a viewer watching this. So like it is not hard to have the away team be their dark color. They have a navy blue jersey.
Mhm.
Like, why do they have to be yellow? And they wore yellow again today. I'm like, what?
But
Okay.
the Knicks wore blue today,
Yeah, but they're
which is
the home
so
team.
weird.
I'm like, what is going? Just
This has been happening all playoffs. Like I
I
mentioned the
know.
Pelicans Lakers, that was like yellow and red. That looked terrible.
Yeah, like those are two very vibrant. Like it's too much. Like
Get it
this.
together, NBA. What are we
It's
doing?
not hard. They're home. They wear white. They're
The
away. They wear
Pelicans,
a dark color.
the
It's just not.
Pelicans wore their city jerseys, the like bone Pelicans, on one of their games. I was like,
That
what
was
is
that was
going
the
on? I was
that
like,
was
what's
game
happening?
four. That
They're
was
like,
game.
we're
Yeah,
we're dead, so we're gonna we're
we're
gonna dominate
dying.
it.
Yo, it was just like, please do better on that. Like, it was actually confusing. And yellow and white are so close together.
Yeah, it's like a
They
very
are.
bright yellow too.
Yes. Anyways, okay, that was the first. Okay, so
And put the name above the number, I swear.
I swear to God, if that name is under the number again, ooh,
Listen, Adam
um,
Silver, we're sick
I'm
of your
boycotting.
shit.
I'm making sure no one else buys it. Um, Before we get into some officiating stuff, just about the game. The first 45 minutes of this game was incredible. It really was. Two very good East teams that love to play at a high pace. They
Mhm.
love to run the floor. They make timely shots. Defense is played very well. They have uh before I get too much into game one, Tyrese Halliburton really wasn't himself in this game, only
Six
made six
points.
points.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson, 40, ended with 41, 42, 43, something like that.
Mhm.
Incredible. So, you didn't get the star power on the Pacers side, but it was very close throughout this entire game. In the fourth quarter, though, is when, especially toward the end, is when things got very, very iffy.
Well, I said the
Um,
first 45 minutes.
yeah,
You said it.
I,
I wrote it. You said it.
I said it, you wrote it. That's why we work so well together. So in my notes, I put
Just like the intro.
rigged, just like the exactly. It's a two-man game. What did I say?
Ah! Subscribe, subscribe.
He said it. He said it. He said it. So in the notes, I wrote rigged. I am not gonna go on a limb and say
Man,
like
I
they're
don't know,
rigged.
man.
It's tough. It's okay.
I
When you really when you're watching this and you break it down,
oh,
when you're watching this and you break it down, it's just one of if you told me name a game that was rigged this season, this is the easiest one to call for sure.
I have never been a person that thinks anything is rigged, sports or
Same,
otherwise.
same.
My mom's boyfriend Brian, shout out Brian. he is a big conspiracy theorist, and he thinks everything is rigged. And I'm always like, no, 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 no. But I'm like, Brian, you had to convince me. This might be the one.
Yeah,
This
this
might be the
is
game.
so it was a very close game, right? So with 6 minutes, and this is a note I made. I noticed no one's talking about this. And it was corrected later,
Revealed
but
here on.
revealed. This better be trending tomorrow. So with 6 minutes left, Josh Hart made a layup. The Knicks were down three. No, they're down five. He made a layup, and the scoreboard gave him 3 points. And
That's what
I thought
layups aren't worth three.
I was tripping. So I literally rewinded it and I made a video. I have video evidence of this. Because I was like, there's no way I'm gonna do this and then they're gonna like change it, whatever. And then and then he shot a free throw, got the rebound, made the shot. And then it was a tied game, 104-104. But it actually wasn't. So that is such a momentum feeling. If you know the game is tied and you're on the Pacer side, you're like, okay, we gotta take a timeout. Okay, we gotta rethink strategy. But it was a 1 point game, not a tied game.
Right.
So that got on my nerves. And I double checked. They did remove a point later, but like a minute later. So again, that wasn't even like a three. Sometimes it happens like they shoot a three that looks like a three, but you find out later it was a two.
Because the foot was on
Totally,
the
it's
line
okay.
or something.
What's on the
Yeah.
line? It's understandable. Totally understandable. A layup under the basket. I don't think that was a three. Like, come on. Anyways,
Get people that can count. What are we doing?
that was the first thing. Okay, and then we get into clutch time. This is 5 minutes left. This is with 53 seconds left.
I'm gonna
There we
try.
go. It is the Knicks ball, Jalen Brunson. It is a tied game, 115-115.
They
I
trap him.
memorized the score. I didn't even write it down because I memorized this. They
Ah!
trap him. They trap him. He tries to pass it off to Dante, and Aaron Nesmith hits it with his hand. And they're literally right when he does it, they're on a 3-1 fast break. Like they're on their way. It's about to make a basket,
Right.
and they refs call a kickball. Kickball.
They thought Aaron Nesmith kicked that ball.
And from one angle, from the angle of the ref who called it, sure, it looked like a kickball. But the other refs 100% saw his hand hit it. There's no way they didn't. And here's the thing. Here's the thing about a kickball or calling a kickball. You can't challenge. You can't challenge kickballs. So the Pacers
Yeah.
had a challenge left, and they couldn't. You cannot challenge them. They're not reviewable, and they cannot be challenged.
Yeah.
Which does not make any sense to me whatsoever. And guess what this resulted in?
Here's another thing. If you don't know,
Please, yeah, please.
a kick ball cannot be called if it's thrown off of the defender. That's not a kick ball.
Oh,
I
yeah,
saw this later, and
that makes.
that's what he called basically. He called it as if because Jalen Brunson threw the ball and it hit Neesmith's leg. That's not a kick ball.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw that later.
Oh, I get what? Okay, interesting. Another layer to this that I find fascinating. But see, the reason why this was really instrumental is at least give the Pacers the ball. Okay, you don't give them the fast break, sure, you give them the ball. No, still Knicks ball, and it results in a Dante DiVincenzo three. So the Knicks go up by 3, 118-115. Pacers are down 3 points. The Pacers have the ball. 13
Actually,
seconds
they're only down 1 point at this point.
Oh, yes, you're right. Sorry, it's 118-117 at this point. I've also memorized this. There are 13 seconds left. That means there's no, they just got to have a timeout. They're going up the floor. Tyrese Haliburton has the ball. Miles Turner sets a screen. Immediately, ref calls illegal screen. And here's the thing. So here's the thing. When you look back at it, Miles Turner does he's moving he's not completely standstill.
He angles. He doesn't move his feet. He like angles a little bit.
He angles his body. And in the textbook definition of a screen or a pick, sure, that's illegal. But guess what? Guess what both teams have been doing the entire time?
Guess what?
Moving
Every
picks.
player has
Yeah.
been doing the entire season in the NBA.
moving picks and illegal screens. It's just part of the game. Like carries. They don't call carries as much anymore.
Right.
It's just unless it's super obvious, like you literally have the ball upside down.
Yeah.
They're not gonna call that. So yeah,
Oh!
so the Pacers challenged it and they lost because technically it was an illegal screen,
And Dante
but
DiVincenzo flopped so hard on the screen.
he flopped. It wasn't even that good of a job. He just fell down.
He just went,
And
like he was ran over by a truck.
it was so frustrating to
And he
watch.
has been complaining about flops this whole series, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. This game especially. It was just I hate to see it. And it was um hard to say not rigged. It really because it seemed a bit premeditated. The
I think
whistle.
back to the women's March Madness game where UConn was called for the moving screen, sorry, and people were really mad about that call. And in that call, I'll stand up for our viewers who are watching.
Please. I
The
I haven't seen it. Please show
the
me.
the moving screen was literally the person was sitting on the screen and they went like like a whole step into the person. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, that's a moving screen. You just took a whole step. Miles Turner literally just like is standing here and does like this and like changes
Yeah.
the angle of his body a little bit. That literally happens in every single play, every pick and roll in the entire NBA for the last 5 years. That's every screen. They're all moving. That's how it works. You guys don't ever call it. Why would you call it with 13 seconds left and the team down by 1 point? It makes no sense. Ah,
I agree with you. It makes you also think like, you could think a lot about what ifs, but like what if this was flipped? What if it was the Knicks on offense, Pacers do or
and,
sorry, if it was the Pacers on
and
yeah, Knicks on offense and
this
yeah.
just happened when the NBA admitted they were wrong in game two against the 76ers by not calling fouls and timeouts. The Knicks won a game like that in that series. The Knicks have played 8 games in the playoffs, and 7 of them have been clutch games. And they have won 6 of those games because of calls like this. It is hard to not say, if this is the only time, maybe. But there's like 4 times in this one game, and this is the seventh game when the Knicks have won by like less than 5 points.
Yeah,
It's
and
driving me mad.
wait till we get to game two, which just happened.
Ah!
But I do want to say, so besides the fact I want to talk a little bit positive. It's
Wait,
not very
wait, no, actually one more thing, one more
okay,
thing.
no, keep going, keep going, keep
And
going,
then
King.
and then after the moving screen call, they called Andrew Nimhart on a foul before the ball was inbounded. So the Knicks got a free throw
I do remember
immediately
that.
after that. And I was like, are we serious? Hello? And you know what? You know what? You know what, Zach Zarba? I've given up on you. I,
He was your
I
I remember
I
you.
gave you props on this podcast, and it wasn't Zach Zarba that called the kickball. It was one of the associate refs who apparently, I
Yeah.
think his name's like Taylor Johnson, and I was reading a lot of stuff about him. He has like a lot of bad calls in the NBA, so apparently that's like his deal. But Zach Zarba, you should know better. I I fought for you, and I was wrong.
Yeah. I don't know their names specifically. I just kind of know what they look like.
I know
But
like 5 of them.
yeah, I know one's Lithuanian. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I forgot his
Scott
name though.
Foster,
No,
Tony
Scott. Well,
Brothers.
yeah, those are the big ones. That's
Yeah.
all it. But okay, anyways, so besides that fact, I do want to commend the Pacers for at the end of this game having a level head, taking the high road. It's so easy in or post game interviews and whatnot to throw officials under the bus, say that it's not our fault. It's all about the referees, whatever. I really like what Miles Turner said. He was asked about the ending of the game, and he said, and because they're saying like, "Hey, 2 minute report's going to come out. Are you going to look at it?" He said, "Doesn't matter. We lost the game. We're looking forward to game two, and we're going to win that." I really respected that answer. It just like doesn't matter. Whatever happened happened. We're just gonna like keep moving forward. I
Yeah.
wish
Very
he knew
mature
what would have
answer.
happened in game two, but anyways,
Mature
I
answer, and you know what? It doesn't fucking matter because they're not going to change the result of the game anyways. So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, it was just true. Um, like you said with that Knicks and 76ers games, like just because they're like, yeah, Tyrese Maxey did get fouled twice and they called a timeout and we missed it. Knicks are still winning. They still won though.
yeah,
Like um it really is
I
leaves
was
a bad
I
taste in
was
your mouth.
liking the Knicks, and I'm really not liking the Knicks anymore. You know, they're grinding my gears.
Yeah, it's too much outside. I'm really curious to see how it's going to be in Indiana. That's what I'm curious about.
Mm,
But besides that, the last thing I want to mention about the first game is that Mitchell Robinson, he played 12 minutes in the game, game one. He's diagnosed with a stress injury, in his left ankle, and he's going to be reevaluated in 6 to 8 weeks. So the Knicks
Tough.
lose another rotation guy.
Yeah, tough. They're
It
down
is
to
very,
7 guys, 6 guys, and they're playing every guy 45 minutes. I don't
yeah.
I don't know how they're gonna last.
Did you see Alec Burks get play in this game
Yes,
right
yes, I
before
did.
halftime?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The legend,
that
Alec
game
Burks.
too. Yeah, but
76ers legend.
absolute. So Pistons legend. So this is that was game one, and I a lot's been talked about in the NBA about this. I want to know everyone else's thoughts as well. Just let us know what you think. I want you to take over game two. We just watched game two.
Just watched before we
Just
started
watched it.
recording, and it took us, however long we've been recording to get here because we are passionate about the NBA and annoyed because the playoffs have been so good, except the officiating.
I, I
Anyways,
I love this game too much to let it go. That's the thing. It's
I
just
can't.
I
I'm
can't.
fighting for you, Indiana. Um, Anyways, game two, very fast pace in the first half. Pacers ended up with the lead 73-63 at halftime. That's a lot of points for half. Tyrese Halliburton, great scoring first half. He only had 6 in game one. I think he had around 20 something at halftime, so
Yeah.
that was good for him. Kind of getting his groove back, hitting some threes. It looked like he was kind of finding his rhythm finally. Jalen Brunson left in the first quarter with apparently a sore right foot, and it was interesting. I was watching the game. They kept showing replays of like him trying to go around Nimhard, and like it was his left foot that hit him. And they showed a replay of like basically nothing happening, and I think they were just trying to figure out when did he injure this foot.
Yeah,
Uh,
I noticed that too. I was like, yeah, they're trying to figure out when the right foot, because I know after the Nimhart thing, it seemed like he was grabbing a groin, so maybe got
yeah,
kind of hit in the jewels.
yeah.
And then yeah, they said right foot. Couldn't understand when that happened.
Yeah, so he was out the entire second quarter. Ended up coming back after halftime, which is good. You don't want your star players to be injured.
Yeah.
Um, Although Jalen Brunson, now that Joel Embiid's gone, you're my next foul baiter. I got to get mad at every time I watch you do it. You or Shea, one of them two. I don't know. Anyways, the Knicks were up 7 when he went out. They ended up being down 10 at halftime, so you can see the impact there. That's a 17-point swing with the absence of Jalen Brunson. Going into the second half, like I mentioned, he came back. The Knicks offense started clicking. A lot of playmaking from Isaiah Hartenstein, kind of doing point center. He was close to a triple double, I believe. He finished
Yeah,
with like 14, 11, and 8 or something like
I'm
that.
gonna check because I want to know if he actually ended up getting it. But he was doing very good.
Yeah, he was making a lot of passes up at the high post. They were trying to kind of prevent Jalen Brunson from getting the ball, so he would just give it to Hartenstein. Hartenstein was finding the open guy.
14, 12, and 8.
14, 12, and 8. I
Two
was like,
assists away.
yeah, yeah. Um, Obi Toppin had a decent game in this one for the Pacers. Decent third quarter for sure. And Obi Toppin is kind of a series for him, kind of a revenge series because he was traded from the Knicks to the Pacers for like a second round pick after being the 8th overall pick just a couple years ago. Could use Obi Toppin on the Knicks right now. With Julius Randle's
Yeah.
injury and all that. And we didn't even mention the first game. He did a between the legs dunk on a fast break that was
Oh, I
awesome.
forgot to mention that. Yeah, that was man, if he missed that, I would
He's
take him
getting
out.
he's getting
Yeah.
yeah, he's getting
He's
benched for the
getting
whole
benched for
series.
sure.
But yeah, he's been and shown up shooting threes, which is not really in his game. But he's been doing that too. So the next flip the script though, they ended up ending the third quarter 99-91, so an 8-point lead, an 18-point swing after being down 10 at
Yeah.
half. OG Anunoby left right at the end of the third quarter with the sore left hamstring, did not return. We are still awaiting update on that. That's another Nick that would be down going into game three here. You're getting down to the end of the bench. You're gonna start throwing Ryan Arcidiacono in there. That guy's not even on the team
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Um, like I don't even know who's they're gonna start throwing Jericho Sims in the game. Um, Anyways,
I'm actually curious. I'm gonna look at the bench real quick. But yes, I saw OG go out, and that made me very sad. He honestly has been in this series. So I know you're you big fan of Josh Hart, and I get it. I love the hustle plays.
I mean,
I'm really
I love
liking
OG.
OG.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was
and
doing
we've
great too
been
right before he got injured.
yeah we've been talking about his praises forever, but like seeing him like in this scene for sure. But
What
so
college OG went to?
Toronto.
Indiana.
Okay.
And where are they playing game three?
Hoosiers, Indianapolis.
Indiana. Yep. Um, So yeah, he was actually OG, was doing really good, hitting some threes. When he went out, he went for a layup, and it kind of looked like he just kind of cramped and limped off the court. So yeah, we haven't had quite an update yet on his status for the future games, but well, I'm sure you'll know by the time you listen to this and hear our next podcast when we know, because it'll be some amount of time. And then we get into the fourth quarter. The first minutes of the fourth quarter. The Pacers, they pick up the tempo, they get good shot making, and they have legend TJ McConnell leading the charge, making nice layups, playing good defense on Brunson, kind of preventing him from getting into his stuff. Really the first guy I think that has had that matchup kind of secured. Nimhard has been the primary guy, and he's been struggling.
Yeah.
So McConnell was doing good on them, and they got it to a 1 point game before the Knicks called a timeout. Then everybody's starters came back in, and the Knicks started pulling away again. They got a lot of easy points, a lot of offensive rebounds, and they were up 7 with about 3.5 minutes to go. Um, and with the game kind of coming down to the wire, Dante three Vincenzo is what I wrote. Hit a three to kind of put the Pacers away, kind of put the game out of reach down the stretch. TJ McConnell, after getting subbed out, never came back in, and it kind of panned over him and showed him looking kind of sad on the bench because he was playing really good defense. So,
Yeah.
maybe worth playing Halliburton and McConnell instead of Nimhard or someone else.
Which I thought was such an interesting rotation choice because usually it's Tyrese Halliburton gets rest, TJ McConnell is the backup point guard. But I noticed this series they're running them both at the same time. It's been pretty successful.
Yeah.
So it was strange to me that they didn't have him on the court at the same time.
Yeah, and then also some things I noticed down the stretch. While I think it wasn't as big of a deal because this was not as close as game one, and those calls definitely influenced the impact of that game. Um, Isaiah Hartenstein had a rebound, started dribbling the ball up the court, and a whistle blew. And I was like, huh, what happened? And then I heard the commentator say he just got called for a double dribble. And I was like, oh, interesting. They show the replay very quickly. He doesn't double dribble at all. Like it didn't really look like there was maybe an angle like the kickball
Yeah.
in the first game where it looked like his hand was by where the ball was, so they thought he double dribbled. Um, and I was like, oh, okay. It's kind of like the kickball in game one where they thought it was that and then it wasn't. And then the whistle blows again, and I was like, huh, what's happening? Mark Davis, uh-oh, the return of Mark Davis walks up to the scorer's table and says nothing. He says, nope, nope. That was an inadvertent whistle, is what they call it in the NBA. It was a whistle blown by mistake. When we could have had an inadvertent whistle in game one when we
When?
called a
When?
kickball
Oh.
that wasn't a kickball. That's when we could have used an inadvertent whistle. Not right now for a double dribble for the team that's up 9. So they blow off the double dribble, and the Pacers kind of start losing it. All the players crowded the ref because Rick Carlisle started screaming at the ref from the bench, and it wasn't Mark Davis that called it. It was another assistant referee. I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was the same guy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Um, but Rick Carlisle's like screaming at that guy, and that guy goes to talk to Rick Carlisle. The Pacers' whole team like crowds around him, like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you doing this?" Um, and then eventually Carlisle received a tech because he was just, super irate, as I imagine you would be, not because of this double dribble call, but because of what happened in game one. Now you're going to call this on us. Are you serious? I think was kind of the idea there.
Yeah. I would have been irate too. I'll tell you that much.
And I turned the game off. I couldn't anymore. I couldn't stomach it. I was so sick to my stomach from the Wolves stuff, the stuff with this in game one, the stuff in round one with the 76ers. Been so sick of the inconsistencies. But then something else happened that you saw. So I want you to take that, please.
Yeah, so it was the Knicks were up, I think, by 7 at this point. So and there was like 30 seconds left. And Nimhart was on Jalen Brunson. They called like a reach-in foul. That was like very light, if anything. And Rick Carlisle got insanely mad again. And maybe this one is a bit more, it was probably a foul, sure, but he just couldn't. It was like there's 30 seconds left. Like just let them play, let them finish it
Straw that
out.
broke the camel's back.
Absolutely. And he was ejected. He got a second tech and was ejected
Did he
from the
storm the court?
no. He
Oh,
didn't storm the court though.
interesting.
Yeah, maybe if he did that, he wouldn't have been ejected. Maybe he should have.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, probably that's what happened. Yeah, maybe if Rick Carlisle won the championship last year, maybe he would have, maybe they would have let it
If Rick
slide.
Carlisle was coaching the team in New York, maybe they would have been okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, very strange. Two odd endings and infuriating endings for anyone who's not a New York Knicks fan. Because here's the thing, in all honesty, Pacers win, Knicks win, I'm happy because there are teams that have not gone this far in a while. So I don't mind either team in the conference finals. I'm happy. Okay.
Mhm.
I want the team that deserves to be there. Okay. Not the team that gets the lucky calls. I want the team that plays the game to the very end, honestly, and wins.
Yeah.
So anyone who's not a Knicks fan should be mad, in all honesty. And it's not Pacers fans. Everyone that's not a Knicks fan.
It's basketball fans, because that's what we're jeopardizing right now, the integrity of basketball games. The series should be
Yeah.
1-1. The Pacers could have won game one. I mean, that was not a deciding call. It definitely helped the Knicks win. Whereas it wasn't like the Pacers were for sure going to win, and then they ended up getting screwed over. But they weren't even given the chance because of
Yeah.
the way that game was officiated at the end. Again, you go back to round one, the Sixers should have won game two. That was very obvious, very clear. They end up losing the series in six, in which five of the six games were clutch games. So a call like that changes an entire series, changes who advances. Do I think the Knicks or the Pacers are going to win the championship? No. I don't think the Pacers are good enough, and I don't think the Knicks will have enough players to make it there. But when I'm watching, I want to watch great basketball. And like we mentioned earlier, game one was 45 minutes of great basketball that it was ruined by the last 3 minutes in the way it was officiated. So just really frustrating. And then you have something like this happen in the next game while the consequences aren't nearly as severe because the game did look like it was kind of handedly, in the Knicks' favor. It still is just like, wow, like that's what we're doing
Yeah.
after this happened in the first game and after this happened in that other series.
It's like they're not learning. You know
Yeah,
what I
I
mean? It's
mean,
like, are you hearing everyone complaining about the officiating and going like, "Hey, we're just doing our jobs." Like, no, you're not. This is not how the job is supposed to be run.
And I mean, officiating will never be perfect. We can
Of-
complain about it all day. We know that there will be missed calls here and there, but some of these are so blatantly obvious to me watching in my TV screen. I'm not there in person, and I feel like you in person who have been trained to be an official should know how to make the calls. And this is the playoffs when the calls matter the most, and this is when we're supposed to have our quote unquote best officials doing the job that have been doing it for, 10 plus, 15 plus, 20 plus seasons. Why can't we make the right call in the last 2 minutes of the game? And why do we have to kind of ruin it? It feels like so much this playoff, so much during the history of our podcast, we have complained about officiating.
Yeah,
And it's not because I want to, it's because it just keeps happening in front of my eyes every time I'm watching a game. And it's so obvious to me. And I don't know. I know it's hard. I know it's fast paced. I know it's difficult to have all that kind of going on in those chaotic environments where fans are going nuts and the players are running back and forth and doing all kinds of crazy things. But you have the Timberwolves smothering Jamal Murray and no fouls are called because that's good defense. And then you have calls that are being made in this series. It's like, okay, I don't even know if he touched that guy actually.
yeah,
And where do we find the consistency? That's the most important thing, I think, is being consistent not only within a game, which we can't even get, by the way. We can't get consistency in one game, but across the NBA, we should have consistency in all these calls.
absolutely. And I mean, at least in this case, having these calls come in clutch time. Like this is not like a
Right.
first quarter kickball. This
Right.
is not right before the half. This is a like 1 minute left, 2 minutes left, game on the line, kickball or illegal screen or double dribble or whatever it may be. And it's like you really got to make sure you're blowing that whistle for something that you're 100% sure of.
And
You
like you
can't.
mentioned earlier, we don't call carrying in the NBA. We don't call traveling in the NBA. People do that all the time.
Yeah.
So why are we calling the moving screens and kickballs if we don't call half the rules anyways? Like
It's
it's
like do it
just
all or not. And then, yeah,
right.
it's, yeah, anyways,
I'm
yeah,
trying not to rant, but I'm just so passionate. I'm literally
no,
sitting here sweating.
yeah, no, It's tough to watch. It was very hard for me to kind of watch that.
Isaiah Hartenstein hit a half court buzzer beater in game one, by the way. So
I did see that. That
that's
was
worth
pretty
noting
crazy.
because they won by,
Yeah,
a close margin. So
yeah. And also, I in game two, the Pacers did miss a lot. I don't know if you saw it. Like they missed like 5 free throws in a row.
Mm. Yes,
Isaiah
yes, they
Jackson
did. I
missed
did watch
two.
that.
Tyrese Halliburton missed a tech, and then he also missed two, I
Mhm.
believe. Very out of character. But I obviously things, nerves and whatnot.
And I mean,
But
we picked both. I don't remember exactly what we picked. I picked Knicks in five, so I thought the Knicks were going to win the series. But when it looks like the Pacers are going to take game one in Madison Square Garden, that's going to make a more exciting series. But now instead,
exactly.
it's 2-0 going into Indiana with two demoralizing losses because of not even necessarily because you just lost the game fairly. So
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what the officiating is going to be like in Indianapolis. It's
the Knicks
very different
the
than
Knicks are going to
Madison
get to
Square
the
Garden.
conference finals and play the Celtics, and they're literally going to have like their starting five, and that's it. They're going to have no
Yeah.
players.
I looked at this bench, by the way, dude. Is Shake Milton's on the Knicks? Do you know
I
that?
had no idea Shake Milton was on the Knicks.
Yeah, Jericho Sims,
Jericho Sims, legend.
Diakite, Diakate. D
Oh, Mamook or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then someone Jeffries, and that's it.
Deshaun?
Yeah, it won't let me look at his whole name, but Jeffries.
That's it? Is that
Daquan.
Daquan? I was close. I was close.
Yeah. And then Alec
Wow.
Burks. We got
Alec,
44 seconds at
man,
the
they
end of the
really
second.
got no players.
They really don't have
Julius
anyone.
Randle, gone.
Gone.
Bojan, gone.
Bogdanovich,
Mitch
gone.
Robinson, gone.
Gone. OG
OG,
hopefully
yeah,
stays. It's
man.
crazy. Anyways, let's let's round out this. That was definitely the most I say eventful playoff series so far in round two, those first two. Um I'll take over Celtics and Cavaliers just real quick. So, Jaylen Brown, 15 first quarter points. Celtics got an early lead. They were leading by 10 at halftime. Second half came around. Celtics just blew them out of the water. Cavs looked just outclassed in every way. Donovan Mitchell had a good game. Evan Mobley was okay, but Jason Tatum also didn't even have a great game. But Derek White, Jaylen Brown played. They came to play, and they blew them out by 25 points.
Yeah.
It was even in the beginning, like it didn't really seem like Karis LeVert had some good shots in the beginning, and then he just was playing like he was just Darius Garland was basically a no-show. It was a very uninteresting game
I
to
watched
watch.
about half of this game and I said, yeah, I don't need to watch this. I don't even know if I
Yeah.
need to watch this series anymore.
Yeah, that's how I felt with the Celtics Heat. I think we talked,
Yeah.
but I
No,
will watch.
no Jared Allen, no Porzingis.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Jared Allen would make a difference at least a little bit. But yeah, that's all we have to say about that, I think.
I can't wait to talk about what's next for the Cavs after they get
Yeah,
swept.
yeah, something like that. Let's talk about Thunder Mavericks. Tell me about game one a little bit.
Yeah, Thunder Mavericks. I believe you had Mavericks in seven. I had Thunder in seven. I think I flipped on them. I originally going into the playoffs, I was like, oh, the Mavericks are going to beat the Clippers, and then they're going to beat the Thunder. But Thunder really handled the Pelicans. Anyways, both teams very physical, playing good defense in the first half, forcing tough shots that the other teams were missing. OKC had the favorable whistle. I noticed another officiating thing. A 9 free throw advantage in the first half over the Mavericks. So. It's interesting. It depends on what type of player you are. I think the whistle that you get because Lou Dort was all over Luca in this game. Luca wasn't getting a ton of foul calls. Lou Dort ended up with like 5 fouls. But they were kind of like he was playing very physical throughout the whole game. Whereas some people in the Mavericks were doing something, and I was like, that wasn't even as physical as what was happening on the other end. But it's weird. Um, Mav Stars kind of yet to kick it in gear in the first half. Derek Jones Jr. gave him some good minutes, and Gafford was really good for them in the first half. He was keeping up with Chet and kind of bullying him on offense. And then Aaron Wiggins had a good first half for the Thunder off the bench. He scored 12, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but I think he averaged like 6 in the regular season. So scoring
Yeah,
12 at half off the bench is a nice kind of punch for your team. Thunder were up 9 at the half in a relatively low scoring game to that point. Uh, once we get to the third quarter, Mavs went on a run. They closed the gap to two. The run was mostly led by Gafford again. He was playing a lot of really good rim defense in this game, getting a lot of blocks, contesting a lot of layups, going straight up. He had a couple of plays in this game, and I was like, I don't even know how you made that play. That didn't even make sense, like how you got that high in there and got your arm to that place to block the ball cleanly. And this kind of defense propelled the Mavericks in the transition offense, so they were getting a lot of easy buckets that way. And the Thunder took a timeout and said, okay, let's get back on our game. They went on a run of their own, really thanks to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was scoring. He started hitting some threes. He started hitting some layups, getting fouls, and he was also facilitating for his team. Got a couple of open threes for the role players as well. So they ended up going up 15. Luka seemed kind of bothered even in the second half. It was Lou Dort on him, and then when he was out, Cason Wallace came in and was guarding him, who's a really good defender even as a rookie. And he still has a lingering knee injury from the first series with the Clippers, and it looked like it was bothering him along with the
Yeah.
physicality. Um, he took so many step back threes and missed all of them.
I believe he was 1 for 10 from three,
Yeah, it was not a great Luca game.
1 for 8. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then going into the fourth, more Gafford playing defense at the rim. That's what I noticed most about this game. A lot of Gafford. And then it seemed like Kyrie was getting going finally, as he's been all season, or all playoffs, going in the second half. And he was kind of slowly closing the lead. And then Jalen Williams remembered that he was playing basketball, and he scored two threes and a layup, give him 8 quick points, and they were up 15 again. And after that, it was kind of
Yeah.
over in the fourth. So that's pretty much how game one went. The Thunder, they still kind of kept their cohesion, very fast paced, running in transition, forcing a lot of turnovers. I should have mentioned that. A lot of
Yeah.
turnovers in this game for the Mavericks, getting the Thunder kind of out in transition. And, they're very young team, fresh legs after the sweep in the first round. So that is kind of how game one went. They kind of just took over in that manner.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of Daniel Gafford playing very well. I think they missed Kleba um, in a few stretches for sure. Um,
Yeah, Lively was not amazing in this game.
unfortunately, I do want to note two things. So I note I don't think people are talking about Luca's knee injury enough because I think it looks like it's bothering him a lot. I don't think if this was in the playoffs, I think he'd be sitting out, you know. I think he'd be trying to rest his knee, but he has to play. They want to win this series. So I hope that he is able to recover at least a little bit. And also I think it's important to note also that the Mavericks have lost the first game of all of their playoff series, at
Yeah.
least so far. So that's just kind of how
Don't count
they
them out yet.
don't count
It's
them
like the
out.
last six playoff series or something they've
Yeah,
lost
yeah, they always lose the
game one.
first game. And I don't think it's necessarily like a bad thing if you eventually win, right? I
Yeah,
think
lose
what a
game
lot of
one, guys.
people I think a lot of people chalk it up to Jason Kidd, like, okay, game one, we'll go with the game plan, and then after that we'll make all the adjustments we need, and then
Right.
whatever they do from there. But I'm not counting them out, but the Thunder look really good. Chet Holmgren, I was impressed by because he really kept kept up with, the big guys like Daniel Gafford, which was the knock on him, right? He's skinny, he can't get
Mhm.
rebounds, and they were able to
Thunder had a lot of 50-50 balls go their way in this game. A lot
yeah.
of shots bouncing off the front rim and they just ended up in, whatever guy's hands and then they had
Yeah.
offensive rebound.
So they played great. Their crowd was insane. I
Yeah.
noticed how much they were into the game. So happy for them winning game one.
One
I can't
team
wait to
wore
watch.
they wore white, the Mavs wore dark blue. How did that make you feel?
I loved it. I cannot tell you how much I cried. I like tears. I was like, this it makes sense finally. But yeah, I'm excited for game two. I'm really curious about the health of Luca, and we'll see how they do in the next game. Really need Peter Washington to kind of he did okay in
He
game
got
one,
in
but
foul trouble very early.
yeah, he needs to step up a little bit though in game two. I think he'll be important. And yeah, that they are going to be playing, I believe, tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow, Cavs and Celtics, which I will probably miss, and then Mavericks and Thunder, which I will definitely watch.
Right.
So, yeah. Uh, so what have you learned about the playoffs so far?
You just like, why did you read it like that? Why did you look at me like that?
Well, because I was reading it, it says, "Who have you learned the most about this playoffs?"
Yeah.
Is that what you meant, or what have you learned the most about this playoffs?
Um, I don't know. I wrote it
Gotcha.
randomly.
Any notes about, I know we have a lot to say about like officiating, but like anything that like I
So
think we talked about this.
officiating's the worst.
Yeah, but anything else that you've kind of noticed?
I, the thing that comes to mind when I wrote this question, I think I've learned about the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
You know, I had questions going in, especially about their offense, and they have said, "What questions?" We've answered them. Here's our offense, number one rated in the playoffs so far. Anthony Edwards looks like a guy. You know, I think the cohesion of both this team and the Thunder is really interesting to me because I feel like I haven't seen a lot of that in recent playoff memory of teams that look like they're just clicking so well together on the court. They're all bought into the system of defense that the coach has going.
Hmm.
And it's clearly working right now because both of those teams are up in their series in the second round in the West. Um, I've learned, Paolo, I think I've learned about him and kind of where he's going to be in this league. I've learned that the Cavs, they're going to have to blow it up. I know they won, but Jesus Christ, we got to stop.
Yeah.
We got to the Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. It's not going to work. We got to
Yeah.
we got to choose a path. Even Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, we got to choose a path. Like the two bigs and two guards is just not it.
Yeah.
Um, I've learned the Celtics don't actually need Porzingis. They're still just going to crush everyone without him, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think a lot of coaches, Mark Daigneault hadn't been in the playoffs. Chris Finch hadn't really been in the playoffs aside from that, first round exit last year. So a lot of these coaches have really asserted themselves. I think a lot of this playoffs is not going exactly as I predicted because of some unexpected things that have occurred in some of these organizations, and
Yeah.
it's mostly positive.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think this has been I don't know if it's just the podcast, but this is definitely the most I've been engaged in the playoffs for a while, and I don't know if it's because it's not like the fatigue of seeing the same teams in the playoffs
Mhm.
or the same players. These are new generation of players, different
Yeah,
teams. Like I really wish the finals could be Thunder Timberwolves. Like I would just love to see that, because
could
I
be the
feel like
conference finals.
I know. But I like because even Boston is just to me it's just kind of boring, right? I don't know,
Yeah,
like because they're like basically feel like the same team they have been and they make a little adjustments here and there, but I'm like
yeah,
I just don't see
yeah. It's
it
like year
for
six
them.
of Tatum and Brown. It's like, okay, maybe
Yeah,
they'll win
like
this time though.
yeah, and I did learn that Derek White is a very good NBA player. He can be more than just a role player. It
Oh,
seems like it at least.
you know what I learned in the first two games of Nuggets Timberwolves? I
What?
don't like Jamal Murray. That's that's what I learned. I was like, wow, I don't
Well,
like
you had
your
Darius
attitude.
Garland. Yeah, you had Darius Garland over him anyway.
I
So,
know, I know.
yeah, but
Looking
I
better in this series.
yeah, for sure. But no, I also like the more I'm also watching basketball, the more I'm understanding how much the coaches play into this. Like I I'm not gonna say that I didn't understand what the coaches did growing up, or I know what they're there for, but now I'm more cognizant of how much they're a part of what's happening on the court and on the bench and everything. So um I find that really interesting. And it really sometimes does come down to who's coaching a better series, who's making the right adjustments
Mhm.
and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I learned you can't. Big threes are done.
Yeah.
Get
Like
depth, get
good.
buy-in.
Yeah, it's just better. It's also just more entertaining that
It's
way.
better
No one wants to
basketball.
see like three ISO players on one team.
Yeah, for
It's like
sure.
just boring, Like watching Knicks Pacers, like as much as we complained about, I get it. Watching the ball zip around and you never know who's gonna make a shot or go. I'm like that's fun. I really enjoy watching basketball like that.
I watched Ben Shepherd make a corner three, and I was like, wow,
He
awesome.
made he was like 3 for 3
Yeah,
in
he,
the
he was
beginning.
good.
I
I
was
was like,
like,
look at
okay,
you go, man.
yeah, happy for you, man. Yeah, so that's what I've learned so far about the playoffs, and I'm excited to see where they go from here. I'm excited to see how things will turn around or not turn around.
Remember
And
when Jalen Smith was an NBA player?
he is
He hasn't played at all.
and on the bench. You
That's
remember what
crazy.
You remember James Johnson still in the NBA?
Is he still on the Pacers?
Yeah,
He
sure
was, I
is.
know he was waived and then signed back, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's on the bench. He was there.
Ijax killing him though. Ijax. Oh, and
Yeah.
speaking of
Oh
James
yeah.
Johnson, game two is getting quite chippy. There are quite little conversations here and there.
Oh yeah, TJ McConnell and Jalen Brunson for
Mhm.
sure were kind of exchanging words, which I that it makes it.
I think Halliburton and DiVincenzo as well, I
Yeah,
believe.
I did see that. Yeah. So we'll see how that translates to the next game.
James
Very good.
Johnson is the Udonis of that
Yeah,
group.
I literally was about to say that. He is Udonis. And he's been on like 15 teams,
Yeah.
but he's definitely the Udonis now for sure. You
That's
remember
insane.
you remember Willie Cauley Stein?
Yeah, Kings legend, number six draft pick, 2013, I think.
Mavericks legend. That's how I will always remember him because him and
That's
James
crazy.
Johnson were both on the Mavericks when I started watching.
That's a deadly team.
Yeah, that's a wild
2015,
thing.
I was 2 years off, but my pick was right.
Yeah.
Sixth pick.
Anywho, just want to say if you made it this far, thanks again for listening.
Thank you, Willie Cauley
Um,
Stein.
thank you. Yeah, that's what this. Thank you, Willie Cauley Stein and James Johnson for being you. So thanks again for listening. If you made it this far, we are going to break down the next few games next week again. I'm sure maybe even this weekend because a lot. I've realized now that just 4 games happen and so much happens. So I feel like we might have to do it sooner than
Man, I
like a
love
whole
doing this
week.
podcast.
It is so fun. It's nice to talk because no one gets this. I try to talk to somebody, they're like, why does it matter that why does it matter that kickball was called? I was like, you don't get it. You don't get it. You weren't
That's what
there.
you say. Listen to my pod. Listen to
As listen to the pod, then you'll
my.
understand everything. Anyways, Damon, you want to take a shot for me real quick? You want to do your basketball shot real quick
Yes,
behind
sir.
the bag?
Shah! Off the front
Okay.
rim.
Off
Off
the
the
front
front
rim.
rim.
Get the
When I
50-50
don't
ball.
think about it, it's nice call out. When I don't
Yeah,
think
you like
about
that?
it, last was that the last time? I was really close too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
You're
getting
just
there. I'm warming
yeah.
up. It was like episode 6 I made the last time. So 30 episodes later, I'm almost there, guys.
Yeah. I will always have faith in you. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about the next few games. I hope everyone that's watching is enjoying the NBA
And
and
enjoying your life.
enjoying your life. And we cannot wait to see y'all again soon on
It's
this
midnight.
podcast. Oh yeah, it is and it.
It's okay, man.
Anyways,
I'm loving my life. Sorry, you're trying to end the podcast, and I'm sitting here ranting and raving, and
you
I'm
want to
so
talk about
sorry.
officiating again?
Let's do it.
Can
So
we get back? All right,
here's
so
my
here's what I would
12-step
have
plan to fix officiating in the
hire me
NBA.
and then to hire Dom, and then we're good. That would be fun. I really
Remember when
wanted. I
Richard
want.
Jefferson was an official
No, he wasn't official.
for like a summer league game or something?
Oh, what the heck? No, I
Just
don't
for
remember
just
that.
because he wanted to do it. It was like this year or like last year. It was
Yeah.
recent. Oh,
He's a good commentator, I will say.
Reggie Miller commentated game 2 today, and he was a big part of the Knicks Pacers '90s rivalry. So that was
Yeah,
interesting.
that was very cool. And they showed some clips. They talked about his was it 8 points in 9 seconds or
Yeah,
something. That was
legendary clip.
legendary. Yeah. Um, but yeah, thanks again for being here. This is two-man game with Damon and Dom.
Buckets.